I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy. 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 I never liked him. I never liked him. Drop the beat. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy. 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 I never liked him. I never liked him. Drop the beat. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy. 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 I never liked him. I never liked him.
So we're still talking about Hasan Piker. I don't like Hasan, of course, but even I'm finding the discourse around the guy tedious personally, especially considering it doesn't seem like MAGA's slowing down. But I was curious about the conversation that was held between Hutch and Pisco, talking about the issue yet again. So we're gonna react to it. Simple. We're gonna react to it, give our thoughts, and see if we can dissect this discussion one more time. Thumbnail image. Okay. Let's dive right into it.
Yeah, it's kind of centered around him, but I think it's about something that's like bigger than him as well. But yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I have something different to bring up and maybe related, but maybe related. Okay. And this is the different thing that I have that may be related to bring up is a concern of mine because I'm seeing it in certain places. I'm seeing whispers of it. And it's something that I wanted to bring to your attention. Is that
Why
fair?
do I feel like I'm being ambushed. Right
You're
now?
not being ambushed.
My 2008 tax returns or something? What is this?
Everything is fine. Why is
You
everyone
make me nervous?
Everyone's monka giga? No, everything is good. Well, not everything is good because I'm seeing the rumblings, and the rumblings are as follows. People want Abdul El Sayed to lose his election against Mike Rogers. What do you think of that?
Well,
are you
we
seeing
talked
that?
about this.
But are you seeing that?
I follow a lot of people, and I would say there are maybe like
it's rumblings.
four or five people that I follow that are, purely out of spite, and they lay it on real thick. That spite, they want him to lose. Everybody else that I follow, like the normie libs or the libs that you might call more moderate, are kind of pissed at El Sayed because they feel like he's made bad decisions that are, impacting the rest of the party, and he's putting Democrats in a difficult position. That's just what I see out there. Where are you seeing these sentiments?
I'm seeing rumblings. It's in the reply you see in a tweet. It's in the way he's being spoken of. It's this kind of
one of the most irritating type of conversations to have is discussing how people feel about general discourse over a particular topic. Now, of course, it gives a good sentiment on general perception, and maybe even so far as to general concern, general as in the general populace. But it always depends on something much more anecdotal, and it always depends on something that you personally perceive in your bubble. I'm not saying you can't utilize that, but it doesn't really get to the core of what the issue is oftentimes. So we'll see how this conversation manifests. The reason why I brought that up, I'm not really seeing at a grand scale people turning on El Sayed. And of course, there's going to be people who don't like El Sayed. Well, I've seen some politicians considering moving to Mike Rogers, a small number of politicians. And I see some online people talk about being apathetic to the election, very Hassan Piker esque. Yeah, that is happening. And I think anybody who's doing that is foolish. You're a fool. Every sense of the word. You're a fool. You're an idiot. You're a moron. And you don't care about this country. With that said, I don't know how much of a premium issue it really is. I think for the most part, he's getting a lot of support. And I think he's going to have a lot of people engage with the election. And I think for the most part, for a Senate election race, this is one of the more high profile ones I've ever seen in the large scale political climate. So I don't think it's an issue.
Resignation to defeat that I'm sensing. I can't put a number on it. I can't define it for you. And I can't even present you evidence of it at this moment. But I feel it. Do you feel it as well?
Or,
There's non-trivial amounts of people who desire his loss, ostensibly for the benefit of the Democratic Party.
I guess we would have to quibble about what's trivial versus non-trivial. Some people are saying that. I think most people I follow definitely want to win that seat. Are you frustrated with Abdul El Sayed? I'm just curious.
In what respect? Yes, of course. He says some stupid shit about court reform that I think was very uncalibrated. So yeah,
I plan to watch the Fox News interview that El Sayed did, and apparently he was really bad. And it does make me concerned that this guy is kind of more of a figurehead versus someone who actually takes politics seriously. More of a online politician, dare I say. I'm going to quote anybody who actually doesn't know policy and just has all their talking points from online politicians.
frustrates me.
Donald Trump is an online politician, for example.
He also
No, I mean-
is kind of like a dork sometimes. That frustrates me.
I don't care
I'll
about
tell you
the
why
links
I'm
and stuff.
frustrated with Abdul El Sayed. Number one is because I want to pick up as many seats as possible because I do think that we could have like a crazy map in 2028. But we got to pick up the seats now to make our job easier in 2028. And the second reason I'm frustrated is because I think that, you can make an argument for a candidate like El Sayed using Hasan's clout to raise their name recognition in
A primary.
in a race like a primary.
Right, yes.
But as soon as that's over, you fucking cut ties for obvious reasons immediately. Mamdani had the good sense of doing that, and he was running in a D+35 city, for Christ's sakes.
Mamdani cut ties
what did
totally with Hasan Piker.
right away?
I wasn't aware of that.
Right away. I think he did it even during the primary, if I'm not mistaken.
I recall him
Hasn't had
condemning specific statements of Hasan Piker. But no,
I agree with Pisco. I don't remember Hamam Dami outright saying, I will not work with Hasan Piker anymore, nor do I remember him saying that he condemns Hasan Piker. I think my memory is he was very critical of something Hasan Piker specifically said when he was asked the question about the 9/11 stuff. I don't see that as something that is necessarily different from what El Sayed did, especially considering El Sayed wasn't asked a direct question. He just put out a public statement in response to bullshit Hasan Piker said. I think Hutch is being a little too critical regarding El Sayed's statement. I think it was very well calculated, and I have no issues with it. I'm glad he did it in the first place.
I mean,
yeah, but
yeah.
He did, but he hasn't had any kind of appearance with him since, or any kind of interaction with him.
I see. And El Sayed has?
So the night of the primary, Hasan was like there at the event. He was invited there.
I think Hasan was invited to Mamdani's victory place.
I think that's true. I think that's true as well. So maybe that's out of bounds. But I think 2 days after the primary, or 1 day after the primary, they had a celebration party where there were photographers.
Even though I agree with Hutch more, I feel like I'm going to agree with Pisco more in this particular point. Once he had a very clear litmus test of the type of things that Hasan Piker is going to be associated with in regards to El Sayed's campaign, he clearly established a boundary, and he's done it more than once. And ever since then, he hasn't done any interviews or photo ops with Hasan Piker. If he does do it, then sure, be critical. But at the same time, he hasn't. The very critical litmus test that took place recently is the stuff that Hasan Piker said about American Jews. And I just don't think El Sayed is going to risk his campaign to associate with such a stupid fucking statement. Yeah, I feel like there needs to be given more charitability. I think they want something from El Sayed, a much more critical damnation of Hasan, and you're just not going to get that. I think you shouldn't do that if you're in El Sayed's case. You made your bed with Hasan Piker and his audience. You shouldn't completely burn a bridge to the point where you can't still benefit from the audience. I think we're not really thinking about the large scale implications of not necessarily having that base support you, but having that base push your message. We're losing the plot there, because I would argue 60% of politics, maybe even more, is all about getting your message said, getting it heard, and getting it recognized. And that's what a large content creator, a bunch of online leftist losers can do for you. It's just true.
From the press there, like there was a professional AP photographer, and I'm sure you've probably seen the picture of him and Hasan like yakking it up and smiling and yeah. So he allowed himself to be photographed by professional media with Hasan on the night of the primary win. And would you agree that his
stupid decision? Yes, horrible decision.
Would you agree that he's putting other Democrats in a difficult position?
I'm not as convinced of that, but that's because I just don't think that this kind of controversy is likely to extend to other races. I haven't seen evidence of that. And to the extent that it's happening, it feels like many Democrats are coming out and saying, hey, it's a distraction, or even I condemn what this guy stands for. So I'm not super convinced it's going to have any effect at all. In fact, I've been seeing some pretty optimistic looking polls, including of people in the most competitive districts, for example, or states like Talarico. I sent you some polls that show Talarico, even notwithstanding a lead for someone like Abbott, having like these really impressive showings in districts where Trump won by like 18, 20 points. But all of that is, I think, fair for us to go through. I'm curious why it's generating, again, this is my feeling, this kind of simmering resignation to defeat, or I might be so bold, a hope, a desire of defeat for El Sayed as just desserts. This is what you get for taking that picture with Hasan Piker. And that would actually be good. It would actually be good motivation. It would be good incentives. So that next time someone tries to do this, they know they're going to get destroyed in the election and they'll never do it again. Are you feeling that? Because I'm feeling that.
I can only speak for myself and say that, of course, there's a petty side of this. I'll just fully own that. And I think it goes deeper than just like simply being photographed with Hasan Piker. It's about what that represents. Like, what message does that send? And from my perspective, I feel like I've been this like, I feel like I have been in this fight against like Trump and MAGA for the last 10 years, haven't missed a single primary or election, voted straight to Democrat every time. And when I see a United States Senate candidate campaigning with someone who has used his platform for years to say that the Democratic Party is literally like the second most evil institution in the world, that's what he told me, and he believes that. And he accuses the party of being like his foreign policy
Maoist
stuff. I don't really care. But I'm saying he openly calls the Democratic Party fascist. He compared,
of course,
Kamala Harris to Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And so that feels like someone to me that has been like working against what I've been working towards. And so there's a petty side of this of like, it does feel kind of cathartic to watch him just get fucking buried by his own clips. After
watch El Sayed be buried or Hasan be buried?
Hasan. And so, like the petty stuff I reserve for Hasan, but not for El Sayed. I just want El Sayed to make better decisions.
Great. I agree. I want El Sayed to make better decisions. And I think the best way we can try to motivate him is, and really to put him in a position to affect that change, is to reward him for distancing himself from what Hasan said. And if for anything else, even if you think the statement was insufficient, at least acknowledging here live on your stream, Hutch, that you unequivocally endorse El Sayed and urge every one of your audience members, to the extent that they're able to vote for El Sayed. in the general election.
I definitely hold the view that if you live in Michigan, it is really important that you vote for Abdul El-Sayed.
That's
and
great.
furthermore, if you have time and the inclination to volunteer to help him with canvassing efforts in the state, and furthermore, if you have disposable income that you can send to his Senate campaign, then you should do that as well. Like,
beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, no, okay, that assures me a lot, because before, when you said the whole like 30% of me wants him to lose, I was like, I sat with that for a while, Hutch. I'm not gonna lie, it affected me. I was like, we can't be losing Hutch.
30% of me that thinks that.
Yeah, talk me through that though.
Well, if you look at the map right now, like with the newest developments out of South Carolina, I don't know if you've been looking at the numbers there.
Oh, I think it's it's a bit ambitious, but I'm here for it. What is her name? Annie something? Annie something?
I don't even know her name.
We don't even know her name.
Shit about South Carolina, but I've seen the numbers. I've seen the head-to-head polling, and all of a sudden, a state like South Carolina is competitive, Iowa's competitive, Texas is competitive. So, if you're someone that holds my view that the movement that has, if you're someone that holds my view that the movement that Hasan represents has been an albatross around the neck of the Democratic Party, then it kind of makes sense to see the value in like normie Democrats just crushing it and flipping seats that you wouldn't even think was possible a year ago, while the progressive candidate loses in a swing state.
That's valuable, or you think that's? I just don't understand it. I don't think you think it's good. I think you think it's like you understand the sentiment behind it, the same way you understand the pettiness, the same way you understand the statements being bad, the same way you understand that like that worldview is flawed, maybe even internally flawed, but not in a way that you understand it rationally motivating the action, by which you mean you agree with it, to sit out the election or to not endorse. That's the part that I don't understand.
Well, I'm not rooting for that outcome, but if that outcome happened, I could give you the silver lining of that outcome. I could say, well, not ideal, but here's what.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what Hutch is saying. You can want things, especially in an ideal scenario, but also realize that it's not practical in a real world scenario. So I have no concern, I have no issues with what Hutch is saying here. I think it is very fair to want this outcome. And I understand his calculation too, that if these people lose, they realize that they don't have as much influence as they think they do, and maybe they calm down. I don't know if I would believe they would ever calm down. I think these people are just unhinged. But I understand quelling the storm. I get it.
Why I think it's not all bad.
But you could do that with just about any bad thing, right? Well, going through cancer makes me more thoughtful about how I live my life. Or, having Trump win made us realize something about the Democratic Party. There could be a silver lining to a great many bad thing that occurs, right?
Well, I think some things are just really bad. Like if I fell in a vat of molten lava tomorrow, like I would have a hard time finding the silver lining there.
Yeah,
but
fair. But agree.
The silver lining probably wasn't the best term to utilize here. I think it probably should have just been a understanding of a ideal scenario calculation that he's referring to, that ideally would have the best result for the Democratic Party, but practically more than likely won't happen, and there's too much risk to it as well. I think making that concession is perfectly fine in this case.
Always a silver lining.
I'm telling you that in the case of if normie Democrats just feast on Republicans during the midterms and put a strong performance out there, and El-Sayed loses, I'm telling you that there's real value there that I think would potentially like help the Democratic Party in the long run.
Like more so than El-Sayed winning the election? No, right? Because
I don't know. Otherwise, I would be rooting for that outcome. But the value there would be, like, it's been so easy for people like Hasan and people with his politics and people from that movement to talk all of this shit and hype themselves up the way that they've been doing for several years. And because, like, they got to do that for so long because they never really had that challenge. So they would make these bold claims that their politics, you could just replicate that all over the country. And the problem with the Democratic Party is that it's just not actually like doing enough to support their kind of candidates. And if they did, that they would win all over. And
my biggest issue here, which is one of the most reasonable critiques to have with people in the center left, is that it's oftentimes that they are more on the back foot. They're more so reacting to other movements that are trying to uphold the system that currently exists, right? For example, we got MAGA implementing a more populist, white nationalist type of utopian, elitist, technocratic society. And then we got the far left that is pronouncing more of a socialist, government welfare, absolutist, anti-capitalist human rights focused type of society. Okay. And then you got actors on both sides pronouncing how they would achieve said results and clearly criticizing to the point of demonizing the sides that are currently in the status quo against the results that they want to acquire. I get that. I understand that it is difficult when people have such radical, ambitious changes that they want to implement. But the criticism that I'm referring to is that it's oftentimes trying to show these guys that they are wrong instead of proving why you are right. Reestablishing why this system exists in the first place, reestablishing how this system built the greatest country in the world, reestablishing how this system transformed society in a positive direction, and reinforcing how this system has the flexibility to mold itself in a way to focus on individual liberty while under a structural system that could still be structural in principle but still intended for individual liberty. It works both ways. It is a symbiotic relationship between the structures of a governmental republic and the in lieu of creating the benefits to hyper emphasize individual liberty. So really focusing on establishing that in particular would be good. But just like, I need to prove Hasan wrong, I need to prove the leftists wrong, I need to prove Trump wrong, I need to prove MAGA wrong. Sometimes that can be, it just won't be a winning message, is the general point.
His value on not only like, El Sayed losing that race and then,
Clip that.
hurting that claim pretty significantly, but also,
Can you just pause real quick? Hey, guys, can you be good faith to Hutch, please? I don't need you guys saying he's lying about wanting the Republican to win. Let's just take him at his word. I believe him. He's been blue no matter who longer than you guys have been alive. All right, so let's just.
If you want to let your and I'm not even.
No, I don't want that. This is a.
Sorry. I didn't even mean to say like that, but like I'm just telling you, like your chat can say whatever, and it's not gonna bother me because I have thought these things out quite a bit. I know I have very good reasons for.
Having strong principles is good, Hutch, but I respect what Pisco did here because he established very clearly a stance, a feeling, a idea into the chat who oftentimes are just grifty to the people that they're watching. And sometimes they need to be told what to do. Right now, Pisco's the chief. His chat's the Indians.
The things that I'm saying. And so like I think that the value of this happening also would be that future US Senate candidates that are running in really important races are going to think twice before campaigning with Hasan Piker. So there's future value there, right? Like, surely you would agree with that, right?
I think that there's future value potentially for the Hasan part of it. Yeah. In the primary context, let's say. Where I don't see necessarily is on any score where that is improved by him losing, because I think if he wins, now you have the model of disavowing Hasan, right? And you winning. And that's also there. And like someone is able to win and unify with the disavowal of the given statements or whatever, and we're all good, right? So like, in what sense is this kind of like maybe him losing is maximalist anti-Hasan? Maybe I would grant that. But I think you still get some of that effect by how El Sayed would win. And he won by being unafraid to take a stance against what Hasan said about whatever the stuff about Jews bringing it on themselves.
I think what I'm getting at is that if this goes really poorly for El Sayed, and you can attribute a lot of his failure to his decision to align himself with Hasan during the primary, then I think that future Democrats that are serious about winning elections in competitive races are going to think twice before using Hasan to elevate their name recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just don't believe in that calculation you're making, because the people who are co-signing Hasan Piker are not really Democrats already part of the current established coalition. It is Democrats that are being popped up because Democrats is more so a placement term for people who believe in principles that at this point are antagonistic to the MAGA movement. So it's a broad umbrella of things that are more center-left, very clearly capitalist under very clear liberal principles, to progressive to socialist. So anybody in that umbrella can pop up as a Democrat, and then they'll just align with Hasan Piker regardless of the PR thing. Because the end-all be-all for a lot of these people is to blame the establishment on why they lose. They blame the media. They blame the establishment. They say, oh, you guys are just all Republicans. So I just don't see this level of self-reflection from Hasan and his movement. I don't see future candidates not considering aligning with Hasan, because they will, especially considering he aligns more with what they want to do, especially if it's more far left radical. And then at the same time, another big part of this conversation is there's still the notoriety aspect of this dialogue. Regardless of how you feel about El Sayed, he benefited a lot from getting his name out there as much as possible. And now he's a talked about pundit consistently. We are undermining name recognition and overall name profile that is being proliferated with the Hasan Piker Association. And that's just a huge part of politics. So in every sense of the word, Hutch is wrong here. He just is. He's wrong here. I think this is very idealistic. And the only current political pundits that exist, or political figures that exist, that would consider aligning with Hasan Piker that I would be concerned with is probably AOC. AOC, maybe Mamdani. Other than that, I mean, the other ones are going to align with him regardless for the name clout. So yeah, I think this calculation's incorrect. It just is, personally. And I think the risk is too high. I mean, he already understands the risk is too high, but I think the 30% should be lowered to a 5% personally.
And if he wins, then I think other Democrats will make this what I think is a mistake, which is
and a lot of them are already
it's a devil's
condemning
bargain. It's like, okay, yeah, you know, it may boost you in the primary a little bit, but we know with 1,000% certainty that Fox News and the right wing are going to do this every time. Any time a candidate campaigns with Hasan in the primary, they're going to fucking bury that candidate in campaign ads, tying them to Hasan. And that is a losing electoral strategy. And I don't want the Democratic Party to do that in the future.
And so if they win, you're confident that that attack will have been at least shown in the minds of most fair-minded people to be toothless, the anti-Hasan attack that is, and that you fear then, therefore, Hasan rises in prominence as a result.
I think I fear that it will be perceived as toothless, but I don't think it takes a genius to understand that these attacks are working, and it is helping Mike Rogers. Otherwise, I don't know how to explain why Abdul El Sayed's campaign put out a message, you know, sort of in a way that I think is more subtle than I would have wanted it to be, but like distancing themselves from Hasan, and then yesterday telling another reporter that he has no plans to campaign with Hasan. I think the reason why they're doing that, why he's making those comments, is obvious, and it's because, you know, that campaign obviously thinks that those attacks are hurting him.
I mean, yeah, it's based off a new thing that Hasan Piker has said about American Jews. I just, at this point, I'm kind of with Pisco. What are we asking for? What are we asking about? Hasan Piker said a nasty, disgusting thing that is very currently timely, that will have huge boost material that can't be rehashed from things he said in the past. So Sayed distances himself from it because he said a terrible thing. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the necessary prescription here.
And, you know, do you disagree that they're going to do this? They're going to do this every time.
No, but there is a tension between El Sayed's victory. Let's say it's a convincing 5-point victory. This notion that Hasan is cyanide for your campaign, especially if his result, let's say, is in line with how other Democrats are performing relative to, you know, the inherent partisanship of the states. If he's in line with that, then some of the luster of the argument regarding he's hurting, right, starts to go away, right? In which case, wouldn't your critique also start to go away about him damning Democrats in terms of the odds? Don't you have something on the line here too?
I don't know if I personally have something on the line.
I think you might.
I have my sense of where the electorate is at, and you know, I do hold the view that Hasan's politics are like just as toxic and corrosive as you can be. Like, do you understand that? Which is a very condescending way to ask a question, but do you understand that? Like, do you understand the Republican Party right now? If you're Mike Rogers' campaign, it's win-win. Mm. They're putting pressure on Abdul El Sayed and other Democrats to acknowledge Hasan Piker and his influence and significance in the current moment within Democratic Party politics. And there's two different outcomes.
But you have an interest in that as well, right? You're trying to do that as well, because you're trying to put it all on the line to have there be a response, right? So you're also increasing the prominence, and you want that. Let's be honest, you want the Fox News attacks to occur, right?
Absolutely not. No.
I thought you started this conversation that you liked it, that you wanted the Fox News attacks.
I mean, like all things being equal, like in a vacuum, I don't want my candidates who are running in swing states to have to, you know, deal with this kind of coverage on Fox News. You know, so I'm not rooting for that to happen. it's obviously going to happen. It's just, so
But
it's
don't you
just
think that's good?
unavoidable.
But don't you think that it's good that if a candidate associates themselves with Hasan, that all the powers that be, including Fox News and establishment, quote unquote, or leadership, Democrat, quote unquote, however you want to define that term, I'm not putting any connotation on that term, that they attack Hasan? Isn't that pressure good? Isn't that fulfilling the thing that you want to see? You started this call by being like, I'm actually quite feeling good that this is all occurring. Isn't this part of the immune system pushing out Hasan? In which case, don't you have something to lose, right? Because if it doesn't work, or if al-Sayed is in line or exceeds nationwide expectations, which I don't think is likely right now, but let's say that it is, wouldn't that undermine your case?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Yes, obviously. Like if al-Sayed wins by 10 points or something like that, then Hasan
I think you'd be upset. If he overperforms, you'd be upset, I think.
I don't know if I would be upset. Like I'll take a 10-point victory.
I know, but
like,
ideally you want it to be a sweep, right?
Wait, let me hold on real quick. Let me make the point that I was making. I'll be so brief. The Republicans are the reason why they're in a win-win situation is because no matter what the outcome is, like they're forcing the issue. They are forcing these fault lines to come to the surface. Like They're forcing the Democratic Party to draw lines. Like the Democratic Party leadership to define the party, and they can define the party by disavowing Hasan or welcoming him into the tent. And in either of those outcomes, the Republican Party is going to benefit from that. Because like if the as Democratic Party leadership is doing right now in disavowing Hasan, Republicans know that that's going to cause a shitstorm within the party, and it's going to cause all kinds of division and fighting, and it's going to be like 2016 all over again. And if Democrats like roll out the welcome mat or defend Hasan, then they're going to turn around and look at normies and be like, "See, we told you, they're fucking crazy." And so
that's a dynamic that you would support. You wouldn't want it to be any other way. And I think the proof of that is the following: what would make you happier? An al-Sayed overperformance by 10 points. Let's say he wins by 10 points and over the margin by which he was expected and in line with other Democratic overperformances. Would you prefer that, or an al-Sayed win where he?
I also want to put out there, Hutch is that calculation portion is correct. It's just at this point an inevitability when you have such a premier political personality, right? Especially if this personality helps you in a primary. It's just one of those things where you only can do so much, right? Because in a primary, you're going to benefit from your name being put out there as much as possible, regardless of how shit your policy is. Now, if it's really bad, like Francesca Hong type bad, you can lose to someone who has barely any clout recognition, like Crowley. And if anything, the situation only uplifted Crowley as a opposite force to what Hong provides. So this is just an inevitability when we add more eyes to the political landscape that is left-wing politics, which encompasses the entirety of the Democratic Party. You're just going to have political figures that try to put a stamp on individual politicians. And if you want a lot of these politicians to get their name and their message out there, they're going to be associated with these figures at the end of the day. It's an inevitability that I just don't think is worth consistently criticizing. But when asked about very specific, things or issues or affiliations or policy allegiances, you can make very clear fault lines, as Hutch indicated. But also, the whole idea of utilizing Hasan as a fault line indicator is bullshit. We all know it is, and it can be easily flipped because of Republicans' allegiance, their willingness to get on their knees for Donald Trump, who took control of their entire party, who's destroying the country. So if people go like, "Oh yeah, your relationship with Hasan," it's like, yeah, I don't like that. That's bad. Now, let's talk about your relationship with Donald Trump, the guy who's the president of the United States, because you guys put him in power. It's so easy to play the Uno reverse card against these people.
Wins by 0.5. What's preferable? There you go,
0.5.
right? Like,
yeah.
And the reason is you're trying to balance,
yeah.
And that's what's causing you to have this tension. The two wolves in you, right? There's two wolves. There's a vote blue no matter who wolf, and there's the wolf about internal democratic, cleansing, and they're both gay and they're fighting each other.
But I don't know if I experience it as this like uncomfortable tension. Like I just have my perspective that, and I don't even think anybody could give me a plausible steelman argument or counter argument. But I think it is just we know with 100% certainty at this point that Hasan Piker is fucking toxic sludge, and so I am rooting for whatever outcome.
No, you want that to be the case, right? You just showed it, right? You want him to be toxic. What I'm saying
is I'm rooting for any outcome that gets more people to understand this. That's what I'm rooting for.
You actually want him to be toxic to El Sayed, just not in such a way that he loses the election.
No, I don't.
You do.
No, I don't want. I don't want Hasan Piker to be a toxic influence in Democratic Party politics. I want him to fuck off. I want him to get away from Democratic Party politics.
No, but
That's a fine thing to say, but at the same time, you can't isolate individual issues when there's a larger conversation at foot. The larger conversation is campaigns, elections, in lieu of beating Republicans, in lieu of dethroning MAGA. That's just what the conversation all leads into. All branches lead to defeating Donald Trump and MAGA in 2026 and in 2028. I want Hasan Piker off of politics too. I think his ideas are dangerous. I think the anti-American stuff is dangerous. I do think the anti-capitalist stuff is dangerous. I think he's very problematic for politics. I think there's a lot of figures like Nick Fuentes problematic for politics. I think Piers Morgan is problematic for politics. I think the Daily Wire is problematic for politics. I think Turning Point USA is problematic for politics. I think all these figures. But you just got to always have the larger picture in mind. And you can work to solve lesser issues, but always realize that everything leads to Donald Trump losing. That's what everything leads to, Donald Trump losing.
Given two scenarios, one in which he drags down El Sayed, but not enough to lose the election, and one in which he really has no effect, and El Sayed is free and clear, you would pick the one in which he has a negative effect on El Sayed. You would, in other words, it's not just that you think that it will occur. You want there to be reputational damage associated with Hasan, such that it drags down Democrats with whom he associates, just not in such a way that it jeopardizes the whole election.
I mean, ideally, I would want it to be like limited. Like, I don't want to like drag down a bunch of other Democratic Party races. But if we can use Michigan to demonstrate the point that this guy is a snake oil salesman that is horrible for the party, then yeah, there's going to be value in learning that lesson and just demonstrating it. And yeah, I mean, are you saying that you think it's bad that I have this perspective? Do you think my priorities are off base?
Well, I think that your priorities, if you're asking my opinion, and I think are off base if it's causing you to have this 30% residual. Maybe I would say there's like a 1% silver lining, or whoever you want to define that. I think 30% to me is too much. So if that's the question, I think it is off base. But more than that, I think this is really clarifying, because it's not just how it's been presented before by the Witt class, the illustrious Witt class. Why, by the way, the Witt class and I have a great deal of overlap. We are substantially very much aligned on many different things. But they have given an account that is a Witt class that is, it's descriptive. Hasan is going to cause toxic damage to Democrats, and therefore, right, we need to inoculate, right? But it's more than that. It's not just descriptive, it's normative. We want there to be damage, brand harm associated with Hasan, and it's for the ideological reasons, right? And that's clear. I'm not saying that there's like anything inherently wrong, but like that is clarifying, illuminating. It's a desire that is, and that's why I'm getting the vibe, I think, and I can't prove it, I can't point to it, that a lot of people, I can't prove it, want El Sayed to lose, and not just Republicans.
My chat says you're clip farming me.
No, I'm not. How am I clip farming? How is that clip farming? How is anything when I say clip farming?
How do you
I totally reject it.
It's almost like you want me to say that I want Abdul to lose.
No, you made it very clear you don't want him to lose. You made it very clear you don't want him to lose. And just pull your chat. Ask your chat. I'm sure that they all said chat. Hutch's chat. 1 in the chat if you want El Sayed to win. 2 if you want him to lose. 3 if you're indifferent or don't care. All right? Those are the different options.
I like that. Yeah.
And I bet you'll just see a bunch of ones. That's what I expect you'll see. So I'm not trying to clip farm you on that. I expected you to say, I unequivocally support El Sayed. And you did say that. And you said, not only that, you should like donate if you have the resources and inclination.
You mentioned ideology. And
yeah,
I am not motivated by my my disagreement with Hasan's ideology. It has nothing to do with this. I don't care about his ideology. It is purely my calculations, my analysis, the way I think about this is purely based on what I view to be his impact on Democratic Party politics and elections.
Right, but
and do you even disagree with me that Hasan Piker is toxic sludge for a race like Michigan, where it's a competitive race in a swing state?
I'll tell you my inclination. My inclination is that he's negative for the general. That's my inclination. That's my vibe. We haven't had a great deal of evidence for that, though, right? My inclination has always been all else equal.
What? Hang on.
Go for it.
Right now, this current moment, that's the evidence.
No. That's the evidence. No. I'm talking. What I'm measuring is the effect on results, right? That's what I'm measuring. And
we don't need to wait for the election, though. We don't need to wait for the election to know that something is having a negative effect on Abdul El Sayed's campaign. Like, we don't need that perfectly quantify that.
Well, hang on,
know for sure.
So no. Well, what are we measuring, right? The effect on. What are we measuring, right? That's important to establish.
If we want to get really specific with it, we would want to measure the impact on undecided voters.
Right. We don't know that
in Michigan. No, but it's kind of like,
that's my inclination as well. All I'm saying is
this,
I don't know, but my inclination is it probably hurts more than it helps in the general election. That's my inclination. So I think we're aligned in terms of belief, but there's something holding you back. Why do you think that we're not aligned there? Do you think we have evidence?
I think we have obvious evidence. Like I don't think we could, sure. Like it would be nice to commission a poll, like a really reputable poll with like a fact.
Sometimes I hate when Pisco relies on empirics as a means to prove a claim. Maybe relies is a little bit too much of a strict term, but he, at the very least, utilizes it as a piece of evidence in lieu of a potential conclusion. And I understand utilizing empirics, utilizing data, utilizing numbers to prove a claim. But if the claim is something that is more descriptive, you don't need necessarily empirics to prove anything, like polling. You can utilize something a little bit more intuitional based, in the sense that you can utilize statements via reaction, statements perceive reaction, statements generalized reactions. I guess I can explain all that, but I'm not going to right now. So you can use reactions off of rhetoric that Hasan says. You can utilize how policies or rhetoric itself can damage a candidate's capability of responding against it. You can utilize like overall things that are being talked about online in regards to the campaign. Is it more about El Sayed's positions, or is it more about his association with Hasan Piker? There's a couple different things you can use as a means to outline different variables of impact on a candidate. Ed, yeah, what's up?
Fucking sample size of 10,000 people, perfectly weighted demographics, and then ask people like, does Abdul El Sayed's affiliation with streamer Hasan Piker like impact your view of him?
Yeah,
I would feel so confident that a non-trivial amount of independent, of undecided voters do have serious concerns about that.
Like my inclination is that it would have a significant negative effect on independent voters that you described, right? I don't know that though, right? And so that's my inclination, but it could have that effect. It could not have that effect. It could have the opposite effect, right? And I don't fucking know, right? But I'm telling you that I agree with inclination.
Well, I have a high degree of confidence, and I think you should too, because really for a lot of reasons, but for two primary reasons. Like, as well as I, that a U.S. Senate campaign, especially ones that are as well funded as the Michigan race. I mean, there's going to be a lot of money pouring into that race because Republicans see an opportunity to flip a blue seat. That's a huge deal. And Abdul El Sayed, he's been one of the largest small donor, I think, recipients in the country. And so like he's attracting a lot of money. And as well as I, that these campaigns are very sophisticated, okay?
Oh, yeah.
They hire people whose entire job is to like poll the electorate, survey the electorate, and like see what potentially moves these voters. And what we know for sure right now is that
the campaign's reacted. The campaign's reacted. But I don't know that they have well, you think they're just going off a hunch here? Like Mike Rogers, when Abdul won that primary, less than an hour later, they're spamming social media channels with I think that
political ads, targeting Hasan Piker. And then so there's that. And like I very much doubt that they're doing that on a hunch. I would bet very good money that they're actually out there talking to voters and testing these kinds of things and seeing which way it moves them. And then also you have, and then I'll shut up, El Sayed, his camp, that now they're distancing themselves from Hasan. So clearly both very well-funded campaigns think that Hasan is hurting El Sayed.
No doubt about that. That's informing some of my intuition behind why I think it's likely harmful, all else equal. I just don't know that, right? And I don't have access to, now those things are like maybe decent heuristics, but campaigns get things wrong all the time in terms of their attack.
I hate when he says, yeah, I just don't know that. I understand if you want to get specific in semantics, I understand why making that claim is important, because it allows you wiggle room to, if, like you said, if the campaign's heuristics are incorrect. But I don't know, it can kind of get away from the conversation, especially if there's a sense of agreement already established. I don't know.
Oh, it turns out that wasn't very effective. We spent all this money on this ad. Doesn't look like that moved much people, right? So I'm just like, I agree with you. That's my intuition too. If you were to put me in the Mike Rogers campaign, I'd be like, this guy said America deserved 9/11, and he walked with, let's do it. But like, think about Obama and like his reverend or whatever. Like, I'm just not sure, right? I think it's okay for me to not be sure and share your inclination. I don't know why anything turns on this, in other words.
What is the value of us debating whether or not we can know for sure.
I'm just being
if it's
honest, right?
hurting
Like, so you asked me, do you think it's hurting in general? I said my inclination is yes, but like I don't have like a strong credence that way because like I haven't seen strong evidence for that. I just have like a strong vibe about it.
Well, I mean, listen, even if you want to add the caveat that you can't be certain, if you generally,
I don't even have
premise,
yeah, but that's my belief. I'm just telling you, it's not based on any like data, just like based on my interactions with people, my general, notions that people don't like people who support terrorism or 9/11 shit or Maoists or communists. Like that's all informing my vibe, but it's just like not a very strong credence. I suspect it, but I would never go to a debate and be like, I have a strong degree of confidence or an 80% degree of confidence or a 90% confidence. Like I just don't have that confidence. And I'm just reflecting an honest answer back at you. I think anyone who says that they do have strong evidence, I think they have to give an account for that. But I share the vibe. I think we can work off the vibe and the intuition.
Well, listen, if you generally accept the premise that Hasan is proven to be toxic.
No, no, not proven in the general. I don't share that vibe. I have the vibe that he is likely negative. Not that it's been proven, right?
Okay. If you generally accept the premise that it's likely that Hasan Piker is toxic for Abdul El-Sayed's campaign.
Correct, yes.
And you generally accept the premise that the Republicans will do this every time. There's a race with national significance and the candidate campaigns with Hasan in the primary. They're going to do this. Okay. So if you accept both of those premises, then I think even you would have to concede.
Even you. What would I concede?
That there could be value in a loss like that to prevent future losses. It is shown. The toxicity is just shown in a way that's like really hard to ignore. And then
would that be silver lining?
Campaign. Well, whatever you want to call it. Like I'm saying value, you say silver lining. You have to concede that there would be value there. It would dissuade future Democratic candidates from making the same mistake.
Yeah, so based on my vibe, yes, I think that there would be some value there. But again, that's all sort of couched against the over, and you and I agree on this part. That's and maybe we have a different sort of amount of value we put on it. For me, it's kind of like, until I see the evidence of the magnitude of it, I'm gonna be like, I don't really give a fuck if it's like a point, whatever, minuscule bump, right? It would need to be some amount of significance. But yeah, in general, I can understand some value. Again, we can have disagreements on the amount there, but the same thing is reflected back at you, right, Hutch? Because if El-Sayed overperforms, that's pretty, at least decent evidence, maybe, that maybe this isn't the kind of negative effect that you've been talking about, right?
If I see compelling evidence that
a victory, a convincing overperformance by El-Sayed, if that occurs, and again, I don't think it's likely, I want to stress, I don't think it's likely to occur. And there's a point I'm getting at here. But if it does occur, I think that is some evidence, again, not everything, but it's some evidence that undermines your point and the Wick class's point that they've been raising now for months. You don't think so?
It wouldn't be the first time that I was wrong about something. And so like, if I see compelling evidence that Hasan is not as toxic as I claim he is, then it might damage my ego for a minute. But I'm not so ego driven that I wouldn't be able to adjust my assumptions or
so
admit that I was wrong about.
Is that a good thing then? So like you that's what I'm meaning. Like it's not just you desire it to have a negative effect on the general election, just not enough that it overcomes the victory. I grant that. So, I think that's at the heart of this, right? Because the reason you feel that tension is because you want to be right about that, right? You want to be right because you want it to have a negative effect because you want that effect to be there.
Hang on. Well, I mean, listen, everybody's got a little bit of ego. And so, I'm not going to tell you, I'm a fucking Buddhist monk who's...
No, I don't... Sorry, I don't mean like that. I mean, like, you want...
I think what Pisco is asking is pretty clear. What he's asking, or what he's insinuating, is that what Hutch wants is he wants El-Sayed to win, but he wants Hasan's impact to be felt in a negative way to dissuade people to vote for him. His ideal scenario is El-Sayed winning, but there's credible evidence indicating that El-Sayed could have won bigger if he wasn't associated with Hasan Piker. That way, people realize that you can win campaigns, but you don't need Hasan Piker because he can hurt your campaign. And that's what Pisco is alluding to here. I don't know how you would be able to get that specific data or result necessarily. And I mean, you can kind of already make that claim with how El-Sayed underperformed in the primary against Haley Stevens, where Haley Stevens almost won. But that's a little bit contextual. It's a little bit of a harder of a conversation, a statement to make. I guess that's fine. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion if Hutch believes that or not. I prefer Hasan Piker to be out, but that takes a backseat to El-Sayed winning. Honestly, I just want El-Sayed to win. I don't want any Republican to win at all, period.
The Democrats to push this guy out. And part of your case for that is...
You mean Hasan? Right?
Yes, Hasan Piker. Right? Yes, I'm sorry, Hasan Piker.
Yes,
you want us to push him out. And whatever that means, again, in the 10 coalition stuff. But that case is undermined if he actually doesn't have a deleterious effect or noticeable effect, right?
And so, of course, but I think the disconnect here, Pisco, is that I think we already have so much evidence that Hasan Piker is toxic for the Democratic Party. Like maybe not in like, like D plus 30 districts in New York or whatever, or maybe the harm there is like much more contained, such that I wouldn't necessarily like panic about it or anything like that, or be like overly concerned about it. But I'm not worried about this election or these outcomes undermining some position I have, because I think the jury is not out about Hasan Piker's toxicity. Like I think we just plainly know that already at this point. And so I'm just not thinking about it. When you say like you want this outcome to happen, all of this to me, Pisco, all of this has been so predictable. It's been so fucking predictable that the right-wing media apparatus would weaponize someone like Hasan Piker to try to hurt a Senate candidate. They were obviously going to do this. And so, they're doing this because they know he's toxic. And so, that's where I'm at with things. I'm not in my head like rooting for,
I think you are
to be like proven correct.
Well, not the proven correct thing, but you are hoping that it does have a toxic effect.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear.
I don't think I agree with that statement at all. Like I don't think any of this is like ideal for the party. So
if someone does,
Pisco is just not characterizing it right. Like I agree with Pisco. Hasan wants Hutch wants Hasan to lose, or Hutch wants something to happen to clearly identify Hasan as dangerous to the party and get kicked out of the coalition. That's what he wants. That's fine. I don't think Pisco is describing it correctly.
You want there to be a negative consequence. That's part of the silver lining. That negative consequence is good.
No, but here's the disconnect again. It's not that I want there to be negative consequences for Democrats like running in these kinds of races. There just are negative consequences for this, as we're
there are, and you also desire them to be, right? It's two things, right?
No.
Well, he doesn't want the elections to have negative consequences. What he wants is it to be apparent to everybody involved that negative consequences exist with Hasan Piker's association. That's the disconnect in this conversation.
No, I don't like that framing at all.
Why not?
I don't want any, because I don't desire for any of this.
Then why would it be a silver lining if you don't desire it? Why would you want a close shave victory, or why would it be a silver lining if you lost?
Oh, we're playing
some desire there to be a negative.
We got to fix up this.
Just because something has a silver lining doesn't mean that you desire it to happen. Like if I got cancer tomorrow and then went through like a horrible experience and I thought I was going to die, and I came out the other side and I had this new profound perspective on, and gratitude for life, that doesn't mean that going through the awful experience with cancer is something I'm rooting for.
No,
I'm
but all else equal. I agree, but like all else equal, let's say that cancer helps you find yourself. If someone asked you, okay, would you do cancer to find yourself? You'd be like, no, obviously not. But if someone says, okay, all else equal, would you want to find yourself? It'd be like, yeah, right? And so if someone said to you,
yes.
So if someone gives you like a false cancer diagnosis or whatever, it turns out you didn't actually have cancer, and you found yourself in that time, you're like, oh, wow, that's like awesome, right? So here, if you could have your cake and eat it too, El Sayed wins, but you find the equivalent of find yourself here is a negative effect with association with Hasan. You would desire that. It's not just that it would happen. You want that. Why do you? This is your whole position.
I don't. No, it's not. I don't desire any of this. I wish he would fuck off and stop asserting himself in Democratic Party politics.
But part of getting him to fuck off is getting people to realize that it's a negative effect, right? And that's only going to happen if it's shown.
It's already happened. Like we don't need to like wait any longer to know that this guy is nothing but a detriment in these kinds of races. We know this. It's not. So
if we already know. So if we already know this, why is there a silver lining with him narrowly winning? If everyone already knows it, right? It doesn't make sense, Hutch. Right? It doesn't make sense for you to be like.
I'm saying you and me know this.
So now aside from you,
there's never been. There is no inconsistency here. Like if you know that like one of the problems that I think is really prevalent right now is that not enough people know what Hasan is actually about.
Right.
He has done, and it's kind of infuriating because he hasn't even done the best job of.
Again, they're kind of talking past each other. This is when conversations get a little bit frustrating because we're not addressing the same point. This is what head on our boy Adam is trying to solve. The ability to kind of talk and engage with things that are being said and things that are being meant to be said. In this conversation, it's very clear what Pisco is saying. And I think Hutch would agree, but they're not connecting to the overall point. And once they connect to the overall point, they can kind of move past this conversation. I feel like in the famous words of I don't even know what Pisco is, Hispanic man who is in Japan living the best of life he can. In the famous words of that Hispanic man, We're looping. We're looping in this conversation.
hiding his power level. Like, he's not subtle when he's talking to his stream. And the Republicans have figured this out, because now there's like probably dozens of Republicans that are watching his streams every day, just waiting for him to say the.
And they haven't even found
the
most of the good
next
stuff, right?
thing.
They haven't even
They
found
haven't got
the good
they haven't got to the N-word. They haven't got to the N-word compilation yet. They haven't even. I'm surprised they haven't run ads of him interviewing like a Houthi pirate. You know,
alleged,
like,
disputed, right? People tell me that
Wow.
that's disputed, but I guess that's just Hasan coaching, right? So I'm sweeping.
Well, when somebody says I'm a Houthi pirate, I usually I take them at their word.
I'm fucking.
Can you give me
around.
literally?
Yeah.
Can you give me literally 5 seconds? 5 seconds.
Folks, I hope you guys see it, right? Like, I hope you guys see it. I'll wait for Hutch to actually have anything substantive to say, but I'm just trying to like get us to understand the entailments of what everyone is suggesting and why I feel that there's this inherent vibe about El Sayed sort of account for why I get this vibe from a lot of people is because I think that they desire this to have a harmful effect. And for the life of me, I don't understand why you don't own that, right? Even if it just as relates to other people who don't know yet all the bad stuff he said, I feel like you should just own it. Yes, of course I would want it to have a negative effect on any Democrat who associates with Hasan. And so that's what I don't understand. Shouldn't you own that?
But in my mind, this is like saying, if I pick up my vape and then let go of it, I want it to drop to the ground. You know, like, it's gonna drop to the ground. And so I don't think of it in the way that you're describing. I think, like, as someone who is invested in the long-term success and health of the Democratic Party, anyone in my position would want the realities of someone like Hasan Piker involving himself in Democratic Party politics being exposed, like more people to find out,
having their natural and probable outcomes, right? You don't want Hasan to be like Forrest Gump and he just is able to be victorious, and like, you don't want him to be happy after this, right? You don't want him to be triumphal. Does that make sense? You don't want him to get away with it.
I think we are so past that at this point. You know,
Why
like, I
can't
just
you
don't
just,
understand.
it's like very clear that that's a good goal, right?
But what goal? Like, it's already happened. You know, we have John Ossoff. We have a guy who has, you know, he's gotten so much national attention in the last few weeks that he's now, for whatever value you put in betting markets, he's now jumped up to like lead the betting markets in terms of like who's going to be the nominee in 2020. And so that is all that to say. That's someone who has a lot of national prominence. Like, people are listening to him when he speaks. And he put out a statement this morning condemning Hasan Piker by name. So, like, the damage is done. And Hasan knows this. That's why he's having such a horrible reaction.
If the damage is done, then the 30% of you should go away. If the damage is done, then there's no silver lining. It's over. It's priced in. It already happened. Then take that 30% and expel it. Expel the demon, Hutch. I'm telling you right now. Expel it. The 30% is gone. I declare it vanquished. If it's already happened, if it's already priced in, if he's already feeling it, then I command you, the 30% leave your body right now.
Why is that important to me if you accept the general premises that I'm using to explain like that 30%? Like, you agree with that. So I just don't even know. It's like you're acting offended that I'm
not offended.
I have this. You're saying it's a bad thing, but you agree that
I think it's irrational,
Hasan,
right?
You agree that Hasan is toxic, and you agree that the Republicans are going to do this literally every time. So you must agree that there would be value in future Democratic Party candidates not making the same mistake. And, you know, if El Sayed is the one to demonstrate the folly of this kind of
then it's not already priced in. There's some additional benefit of El Sayed losing that you want, maybe not to the full loss, but at least that negative effect. There is some benefit to that occurring on your view.
If it prevents more future Democratic candidates from making the same mistake, then yeah, there's value there.
Right.
But again, when I say that's like 30% of me, I mean that shit, because I do think the most ideal outcome is to defend that seat in Michigan. So we don't have to
narrowly, not in an overall
another seat.
You would be disappointed to see him win by 12.
Honestly, bro, it would be like, well, I'm a little worried about future races, but I would feel good if it was 10 points. I wouldn't be like, oh, this sucks. You know, like I would feel like good about that, because that would show me that despite Hasan Piker's toxicity, like, things are so bad for the Republican Party.
Wait a second. So it wouldn't undermine your toxicity point at all? If you won, but let's go crazy. He wins by 15 points. We'll go crazy. 15 points. That wouldn't undermine your case at all? You'd be like, you'd still say
15, maybe 15 you're getting closer. But I'm just saying, like, things are it just is the case that things are so bad for Republicans right now that, you know, someone like El Sayed could very easily overcome the, you know, what would be liability, like massive liabilities, or much more of a massive liability in a more normal kind of election cycle when you don't have a president who's negative 31, you know?
Yeah, then I think we're aligned. I think you would be fine with a El Sayed triumphal victory. And that's your overriding concern. And so
I'd be happy.
And even though the narrative would be Hasan doesn't sink your campaign, right? Because that would be the narrative.
I don't know how you could get to that narrative.
You don't see the connection there?
Pisco, listen to me. We're 3 months removed from the midterms.
Yeah.
And things are so bad for Hasan that this candidate that he's been taking credit for, literally, he has been taking credit for that guy. He pretends like he's not. I'm no kingmaker, but there's multiple clips of him like basically like taking credit for that. And now that candidate is saying, I don't plan on doing any campaign with Hasan. And, you know, he condemned him.
So we already won.
Directly.
So we already won.
No. So if Abdul El Sayed goes on to win this race, it will be after he distanced himself with Hasan. And so there's no way that
there's no way that Hasan wins.
Exactly. He's fucked in this spot.
So then
and
we're
he
good.
knows it too.
So then no one should be at this point. No one should be
That's
like.
That's why I'm happy. I'm like euphoric over the last 5 days.
We're aligned
because this is just unequivocally bad for Hasan, and he knows that. It just fucks with his whole brand. Is like he's going to be this new political leader to revolutionize, American politics.
I'll be honest. In a conversation with friends, I could see a conversation like this taking about an hour, 100%. But as someone critiquing political discourse, this conversation could have been held in 10 minutes. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest.
In Democratic Party politics, and that just got blown up. Like, it's all just completely blown up. And he knows that. That's why he's freaking out. That's why he's putting out these calls for other people to defend him harder. That's why he's like, in the replies to these posts, now he's talking shit about John Ossoff, which is a guy that last week he was saying, I like Ossoff.
He's a dark horse. He's my dark horse candidate. Yeah.
A week later, he's like, this Jewish senator from Georgia,
He said this Jewish senator from Georgia? That's crazy.
In the replies, yeah. But, there's more context to that sentence. But like, this is obviously bad for Hasan. And everybody outside of his deranged cult of personality can see that this is not ideal for him. It just fucks with his entire
for sure.
brand. All of that is just blown up.
Okay, then I think that we're aligned that like this whole DSA hand-wringing thing, I mean, it seems like the party's in a good spot. It seems like we're good. It seems like we're all good, right?
We're getting there. I mean, it's good. I'm glad to see leadership take a more forceful tone about this and take a more forceful position about this. Like the Republicans did force the issue. Like they forced the Democrats to do this. And so I'm glad that we're like ripping the Band-Aid off now, especially with Ossoff. I'm really glad that Ossoff did that because we can skip the fucking, next year and a half of them pretending that they would be okay with Ossoff, only to turn around and call him a baby killer the second it looks like he might win the primary. We can just skip all that, and now we're at the spot that we were always going to be, which is they're going to be super adversarial with Ossoff. And I think that's good for us. Yes, I think that's really good for us.
So now that makes sense to me.
Because that guy's a fucking generational talent. That guy, it could be like the next fucking JFK. He is insanely charismatic, and his messaging, political messaging, is so disciplined and it's so on point, and it's going to connect with a lot of voters. He's going to have a lot of broad appeal, like mass appeal. And if they want to pick a fight with him, like let's go, bring it on. Okay, I would happily line up behind John Ossoff.
Feel free to ask me anything you want. Push all that stuff within reason. Do you want them to support Ossoff or oppose him?
It would.
Interesting question. I mean, anybody with common sense knew that this was going to happen as well. That the left was going to turn on him for being Jewish, for being more in the center. Like, everybody knew this was going to happen. You don't agree with them, you're their enemy. But although I do think it's necessary for us to kind of figure out what you truly believe, one thing that I don't like, at some point, we all got to come to the negotiating table and figure this shit out, because in order for Democrats and the left to have any influence and power, they need to band together. They just do. The Republican Party, as time goes by, of course, maybe Democrats, maybe people like me can convince these people, this demographic that supports Republicans, white, rural, less educated, maybe we can start educating them better, opening their eyes, making sure that they're less bigoted. But that's going to take some time. It's just undeniable that the Republicans have the majority demographic on their side. So at some point, regardless of all the animosity I may have to the far left, at some point we got to all come to the dinner table and work shit out.
Obviously be ideal if we could get as much support as we could possibly get. That would be ideal. Yeah. But do I like the question
you
is,
don't want them to pick a fight with Ossoff?
The question is I don't think about these things in this way. I'm not thinking about like, what do I want versus what do I don't want?
Well, surely you should, right? Because
no, I don't think about life in that way. Like, you can ask my chat. I have been telling them for like 2 fucking months that all of this bullshit, flattery and praise that Kyle and Hasan have been, and all of them have been throwing at Ossoff, it was all bullshit. It would not, like, obviously that was never going to last. At some point they were going to fucking turn on this guy. Like,
you want
them to, like, do I want them to or do I not? I don't want these people to have their politics. I wish that they believed different things and weren't insane people. That's what I want. But in terms of like, how are they going to interact with Ossoff? it's just predictable.
The response is going to be, Hutch, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. If we support the candidate, you don't want that. And if we oppose the candidate, you don't want that either.
No, I just told you. I think like what I would want within some kind of realistic framework from the people that I'm talking about, what I would want from them is just just some semblance of pragmatism. Like, I am not asking for them to dole out endless praise for John Ossoff. I'm not asking for them to change their ideology and, bend to his ideology. What I would want is for them to say, okay, you know what? Like, he doesn't have my politics and I don't like his policy positions on this, this, and this, but this is the best option that we have. And we should try to affect for the best outcome.
Okay, so you want them to support.
That's what I want.
You want them to have some sort of like qualified support for the candidate. That's what you'd like to see.
That would be.
Yeah, I think Pisco's answer, again, very clear to me. And Hutch eventually got there. Because ultimately, trying to say, I don't think like that, doesn't really make sense. When you make claims on a consistent basis, there needs to be an underlying rationale behind what you're trying to achieve with the claims that are being implemented, right? So you can't, if you're going to make claims about, people on the far left and you're going to make claims about people on the right, my perception is you're making claims to better America. So you get these people either to change their perception or get people who support them to change their allegiances. I think it's fine to determine what you want. Being descriptive is fine, but a description of things is oftentimes, it just seems like you're just complaining about life. And nobody likes a Debbie Downer. But Hutch eventually got there.
Ideal. Yes.
Including Hasan of Ossoff.
Yes. To the extent that he can, actually motivate people in his base to support the nominee in 2028.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah,
I do. But I don't want him but I do not want him campaigning or in the same room with any of those nominees because he's fucking toxic. Yes. Yeah.
All right. I guess I have one more. If I won't ask it. I think that I think
don't stop there. Don't stop there. Come on now.
Well,
you can't tee it up and then not.
If it were to help, if you thought it would help, I know that you're convinced that it won't, and it's already been proven that it won't. And that's where I'm at too, in terms of my vibe. Again, we agree on that.
Okay, so we're just in thought experiment.
Thought experiment. You'd bite that bullet and say, get him on stage.
If I thought that by sharing stage with Hasan Piker, that would help a candidate win an election, and not like, and even if it did potential damage to other candidates maybe in the future, but there was more like value, then yes, I would. Bro,
I think we're aligned on like most everything. I really
like Liz Cheney is like a perfect example of this. I fucking loathe her politics, but I understood what they were going for by trotting out a Republican who says, I disagree with Kamala. I don't have her politics. We are very different ideologically, but I think Donald Trump.
I thought it was based too. I thought it was based. And I think we're just, Hutch, I think we're in complete alignment, actually. Come to think of it, I think that we're, like, I just think that we're aligned in practically every respect. Maybe on, like, the media stuff, you're like, you should be focusing, but I don't even hear you say that. Do you say, like, Josiah should be focusing more on Hasan? You don't say that. I don't hear you say that.
No, so my issue with Josiah is not that he focuses basically exclusively on Republicans and his content. I don't have any problem with that. Like, different creators have different niches, and you should lean into what's successful for you. And I would assume that Josiah is a creator first and like a political advocate second, which isn't meant to disparage him. Like, I think of myself in the same way. My issue with Josiah is when he goes on Twitter and
wait, what's the thing that he said that you disagree with?
Creator versus political pundit second. I guess I think of myself as a political pundit first, creator second. I don't know. Maybe I need to have a better balance because I'm pretty bad at the content creation stuff. I put out a lot of content, but it just needs to be edited. I don't know. I don't have time to kind of optimize all the content I do.
He said something yesterday that I was like, that made me sad. What did he say yesterday? It was about.
What did you see, Clarice? What did you see?
There were some DGG folks, I think, pressing him a bit on like Crystal and Kyle and them, I think.
Crystal, Kyle, and friends?
Well, I mean, like that space. And hold on, let me find it.
So it's more like Twitter, Josiah. You have a disagreement.
Twitter and live stream debate, Josiah. Sometimes he'll say things. He'll sometimes say things like
what?
Hey, hold on, I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
Like someone was pointing out that if you're somebody that uses the language diet MAGA, for some reason I can't find it.
Oh, I think I saw that tweet, and he was like, "I disagree with it. I think it's bad." That's what I thought Josiah said to that.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second to find the specific thing he said. He said, Hasan making that false equivalence when he says diet MAGA, I think. Plus trying to get Democrats elected via endorse. No, this isn't even the one I'm thinking of. What's the one where he's talking about diet MAGA? Is it this one, Zublars?
I've never heard him endorse that term.
No, he didn't endorse it. Okay, here it is. Mouton.
Mr. Mouton.
Senor Mouton. Said, respectfully, doesn't Kyle do this? Okay, so hold on. Josiah said, in reference to Kyle, until he endorses a Republican or third-party candidate and or creates a false equivalence between the two parties and or encourages his audience to not vote for the Democrats. And I think he meant by that,
You're an ally.
you're right.
Yeah, that's just how he
And then
defines
Newton-
ally. Just to be clear, guys.
Right.
That's just how he defines the term ally.
Right, but that's my problem with Josiah. So like,
Okay, but it's the
specifically-
terminology shit. No, this is what's happening, Hutch. Like
No,
people are
no,
loading in
no.
the connotation
Wait,
of the word
wait,
ally
wait.
and trying to like
Wait.
sandbag him.
Okay, let's just fine. If you want to avoid defining ally,
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that's how Josiah defines ally. And so when people are
No, I
like, wait,
understand.
okay,
but I think that's silly is my point and frustrating.
why is that silly?
I'm trying to get to it. I'm trying to get to it. Okay, so Mooten says, respectfully, doesn't Kyle do this by calling the Dems MAGA light or diet MAGA? And then Josiah said, by definition, diet isn't an equivalence.
Yeah, I think you agree.
And I'm like, I do not agree with that. If you're calling Senator Slotkin diet MAGA, you're calling them MAGA.
But no. By definition,
That's
I
what
think by definition,
Now, okay, I was more aligned with Pisco at first. And then we finally got to the point that Hutch was trying to make and trying to figure out. Now I'm aligned with Hutch. Diet MAGA is 100% a comparison. Semantics be damned, because we're utilizing things in a colloquial term to influence people and their perceptions of the thing. They want people to have a negative connotation when they think of Democrats. The semantics here is irrelevant. Yes, Diet Coke is different from Coke, but ultimately they think of soda and they think of Coke products. Diet MAGA is different from MAGA, but ultimately they're going to think of MAGA is bad, Democrats are bad, just not as bad as MAGA. Pisco's going to piss me off if he says something that I don't like here. Oh, okay.
Just point out is that there is a distinction, right? It's not an equivalence, and you agree.
Not a
with that.
meaningful,
distinction's
not a
irrelevant.
meaningful distinction. When somebody says
I agreed.
Slotkin is diet MAGA, what they're saying is they're basically no different from MAGA. That's what they mean when they say that. They're not giving some nuanced take about like, Slotkin voted with the Democrats 72% of the time, which puts her more in the conservative sort. They're not doing that. When they say diet MAGA, what they're saying is, colloquially, what they're saying is, this person is basically MAGA. And that is the obvious definition of a false
So
equivalent.
that's one interpretation. Let me give you another one. This person is far too aligned with MAGA. So
Bro. Oh man. This is the sweeping that I just don't like. I think they're giving too much good gracious on someone like Kalinsky. Do we think that he's do we think his rhetoric is typically on basis of very specific political policy ground? Or do we think he speaks in more rhetorical generalities to imply emotion from the viewer base, to have feelings about different party affiliations? I would go with the latter. So to kind of give any other perception of that definition is just giving way too much good gracious to Kyle. This man is very clearly antagonistic. The left, I've spoken to so many leftists that are antagonistic to Democrats, to liberals, and it's nah, bro. I'm not with it. I think we're giving too much gracious here.
well, for example, I might call Cenk Uygur diet MAGA. I might call Jared Polis.
Yeah, but I think Cenk is shitty. So if I'm going to call Cenk diet MAGA, that's because I think Cenk is as bad as MAGA, but just not MAGA.
Diet MAGA. And if I said that, you would understand in that context. Am I really saying that Jared Polis is essentially no different than a MAGA person? Am I saying that Cenk
Pisco, even if I were to agree, because I don't agree. I don't agree to that. But even if I were to agree to that, we're not talking about how you would utilize it. We're talking about how Kyle would utilize it. That's the point. We can infer intention based off circumstantial evidence. Come on.
I've called, for example, TYT MAGA News because of how they covered shit. And I think people understand in context, I'm not making an equivalent to saying TYT is literally MAGA
But
News.
we're not talking about you.
Well,
Pisco.
listen, I think it depends on the context, the person, and what you mean by it. But generally speaking, when you say diet MAGA, you're saying that someone is more similar to MAGA than they are Democrats.
I think that that's one interpretation. I think another interpretation is the one I gave, which is far too accommodating and far too aligned with MAGA. That I think is another, and I think that's not an implausible reading. I think you have to agree with that. That's not implausible as an understanding. Is that implausible?
Yeah, but why? No, I don't.
It's not implausible, but it's not a consideration that makes sense in the given context. That's you're killing me. You're killing me, Pisco. You're killing me.
I think that's implausible in some. Wait, hold on.
It's among
the
the possible interpretations.
It could be, but not for Kyle. That's the point.
Well, now add in all the statements that Kyle has made. But now add in all the statements that Kyle has made about Dragon's Balls and voting and all that stuff. You know, but now take Josiah's view.
Years of history.
Take Josiah's view.
No, but I do try to, like, part of the reason why I get frustrated is because I try to take Josiah's view, but when I think about just the 10 plus years of Kyle doing the same thing, I don't understand how he takes that view. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't, because that's just not how I think about things. When somebody demonstrates a specific behavior for as long as Kyle has, you know what he's saying when he's saying that Slotkin is Diet MAGA. You know exactly what he's saying. It's the fact that he's now throwing out this blue no matter who, frankly, pandering at this point. That doesn't change the fact that, like, we can come to a very specific conclusion, I think reasonable conclusion about what Kyle means when he says these terms. It's just so
I think it's just a difference in terms of how sincere do you think this change has been, or this new frame has been. I think someone like me and Josiah,
we think Kyle Kalinske is being sincere about wanting Democrats to win. I think he's sincere about wanting far leftists, progressives, and socialists to win. I don't think this motherfucker gives a two shits about Democrats and establishment Democrats winning at all, bro. At all. And if you think he is moving in the right direction, well, definitely something that I'll say to you is...
Nah, that's not enough.
Not enough, man. Not enough.
Different take on whether Kyle has meaningfully changed his view on the...
Wouldn't the fact that he's calling Democrats Diet MAGA...
No, because listen.
So there's one way you can take that word, right? There's one way you can take that word. It becomes a debate about how could you think that way? And so just I don't know.
There's two ways to interpret it, right? There's two ways to interpret the Diet MAGA comment. And by the way, I disagree with him using that. I don't think he should use the word because there could be a meaningful conflation. But there's one sense of the word in which you're essentially the same as MAGA, and there's another sense of the word which is...
Oh my goodness! I just don't. Maybe at this point we have to really ask Pisco and Josiah, why do you believe in Kyle? Like, you keep on asking our evidence on why Kyle is shitty, and we give you our evidence, and it's, dare I say, it is.
Nah, that's not enough.
So, what is your evidence? What is your evidence that Kyle has changed, that Kyle is fighting the good fight? Maybe saying he's wrong recently. Is that enough for a change? Or is that something to suffice his bullshit and then just do the same thing over and over again? I don't know. I don't see the trust, man. I feel like actions speak louder than the words, and I don't see enough action.
Like, you're far too accommodating and aligned with MAGA as a critique, right? You're Diet MAGA, you might say that, for example, right? Again, Jared Polis, he freed Tina Peters. Or again, to Cenk Uygur, to TYT, I have called them MAGA news. Now, it is totally untrue for me to say that they're equivalent to MAGA, but I think people understand when I say that in context. Again, all I'm saying is he's super accommodating to the MAGA narrative, that he's willing to be way too charitable to MAGA, that kind of stuff. And I don't think that Josiah is fundamentally just confused by pointing out the true fact that there is no equivalence and that he believes Kyle when Kyle says that there's a humongous difference between the two parties, so as to inform the one version of the word or term versus the other. Does that track? You're my boy. I love you, dog.
I love
the shirts too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Look, in the infinite multiverse of universes where every possible outcome has happened, it's possible that we live in the one universe where Josiah is correct in his assessment of where Kyle is at. I just don't think we live in that universe. Because
how do you prove you're wrong? Is there a way to prove you're wrong?
I think there's an easy way to do this, which is just to go to Kyle Kalinski's Twitter page and search for the word Democrats and just kind of scroll and see what he's saying. June 25th, when the Diet MAGA Democrats don't understand is that the more they out themselves, the more they put a target on their back to get primaried and fucking lose. The base is no longer taking their horseshit. Proceed at your own risk.
Yeah, he's basically saying that there's a collection of Democrats that he finds to be intolerable, that he wants to see ousted. How is that inconsistent with what he told Josiah?
That he finds to be not meaningfully different from Republicans. That's what he means when he's saying that.
But notwithstanding that, right? Even
May
if that were true,
May 26th. They aren't moderate. These aren't moderates, as I've always told you. They're Diet MAGA. They're simply not real Democrats.
Yeah,
what the fuck else am I supposed to...
all of that is consistent
they're simply not Democrats. What do you think he means by that?
Yeah. What he means to say is that they're far too accommodating.
Yeah, Pisco's rage baiting me. This we're doing the Trump thing, and it's rage baiting me.
Let's rewind a little bit. Let's rewind a little bit because I've heard the same. This reminds me so much of the Trump stuff.
Democrats, and just kind of scroll and see what he's saying. June 25th, when the Diet MAGA Democrats, what the Diet MAGA Democrats don't understand is that the more they out themselves, the more they put a target on their back to get primaried and fucking lose. The base is no longer taking their horseshit. Proceed at your own risk.
Yeah, he's basically saying that
Like,
there's a collection of Democrats that he finds to be intolerable that he wants to see ousted. How is that inconsistent with what he told Josiah?
That he finds to be not meaningfully different from Republicans. That's what he means when he's saying that.
But notwithstanding that, right? Like, even
May
if that were
26th,
true,
May 26th. They aren't moderate. These aren't moderates, as I've always told you. They're Diet MAGA. They're simply not real Democrats.
yeah.
What the fuck else am I
consistent.
supposed to?
All of that is
No,
consistent with
they're simply not Democrats. What do you think he means by that?
Yeah. What he means to say is that they're far too accommodating to Trump. It's like something you would say to Fetterman, right? Is Fetterman a real Democrat?
That if you're utilizing Fetterman, then you're coinciding you're conceding the point. He thinks these Democrats are just as bad as MAGA, or better yet, not just as bad as MAGA, that you should dislike them like MAGA, but they're not as bad as MAGA. Well, you should think of them like MAGA. Come on, bro. Like, we know what he's talking about, which is why when Pisco does this right here.
What do you think he's saying? That they're literally not Democrats? Or is it a point about their alignment and who they're aligned with?
I've already told you what he's obviously saying, which is that these people are closer to MAGA than they are the Democratic Party. That's what he means.
But even if that were true, by the way, it's all consistent with what Josiah is observing. Now,
it's not. He said, no, hang on. It's not, because Josiah said that he would change his attitude with Kyle if Kyle was doing false equivalences.
Yeah, he doesn't. So yeah,
but that's all Kyle does. It's like he's not even still doing it.
Even saying that a Democrat is closer to MAGA than an archetypical Democrat doesn't mean that you're making an equivalence between them.
Of course it does.
Okay,
what do you mean?
I fail to see that.
If I said if
I just maybe it's the semantics game, because semantically equivalence means equal, but it's not equal in the sense of conduct. It's equal in the sense of perception. If we're looking at this, if we're giving a honest take on this entire situation, in terms of conduct, of course there's a difference. But when we're influencing voters and how people should feel about different things, oftentimes you want to associate different labels or identities or ideologies to things that are already quantified as clearly bad. Not even qualified, quantified, meaning 0, 1, 1 very bad, MAGA very bad. So I want to equate your perception of this thing to the thing that is very bad. So even though it's not necessarily the same thing, as long as your feeling is immediately a negative emotion, that's what matters most. That is what this is. This is a rhetorical strategy to attack Democrats that are more close to the center. And I hate Fetterman. I'm willing to call out individuals. Fuck, you can say individuals are Diet MAGA. Sometimes, if you can back it up, and I'm willing to engage, let's have a conversation. Right? I think fucking Hasan Piker is basically Diet MAGA. So we can have that conversation. But at the same time, to say that there's not a very clear distinction that is being, or there's not a very clear intention of utilizing the term to create a negative perception of Democrats is just incorrect, Pisco. That is incorrect. Pisco and Sneeko are trying way too hard to be the next Hasan. Halloween is until October. I still fuck with my boy Pisco. Still fuck with Pisco. I still fuck with him. My only issue is he's being too generous here. Still fuck with Pisco. Sneeko, not so much. But if Sneeko wants to come to the podcast so we can engage with some of the bullshit he's been saying recently, I'm always game. But I don't know. This false equivalent, this semantic argument, it just irks me. It irks me.
If I say that the Democrat, like Alyssa Slotkin, is closer to MAGA than they are like the median Democrat, of course I'm lumping her in with MAGA and creating a false equivalence.
Yeah, no, I'm not convinced that first of all, like I said, I'm not convinced that the term, as Josiah's interpreting it, is having that weight. I think it's more in terms of, because example, if you were to run down all the policy positions with Kyle, you'd be like, you agree Alyssa Slotkin is better.
Oh my goodness, Pisco did a very sneaky tactic, which I respect, but I do not like. So what Pisco did here is as follows.
he's making a characterization based off Josiah's attention versus making a characterization of Kyle's intention. That distinction is very important because I don't think he's able to actually defend Kyle and his rhetoric as a totality, but he can defend Josiah's intention of what Kyle could possibly mean. Because Josiah's intention is still something that is isolated from Kyle's intention. And maybe I'm overthinking, but that's what it seems like he did here. If I'm Hutch right here, the easy question to ask is, wait, I'm not talking about Josiah's intent. Or you could say, even Josiah's intention, I think is wrong. I think both of your intentions are wrong. I think you guys are both wrong about Kyle's intention. And then focus on Kyle's intention.
Votes on this, right? Yes. You agree that Alyssa Slotkin is this and MAGA isn't like this. How do you think he would respond to that, Hutch? If we went through the policy and be like, that's a massive difference, right? That's a massive difference, right? You think he would say, no, it's not a massive difference?
I think Kyle would flail about and hurl like any ridiculous like Facebook boomer meme, like conspiracy theory that ever landed on his feed about Alyssa Slotkin. He would probably hurl like insane accusations that she, like murdered a kid in Uganda in the 80s or something like that. And, that she probably secretly agrees with Republicans and, her whole project is like working against progressives.
But in order to have your interpretation, you have to square the Manchin statement. And the way you square that is saying he's lying about Manchin, that he would vote for Manchin.
He might be lying to himself or outwardly lying to you guys, but he's lying one way or the other because there's no universe where
unless he does.
He's not even going to endorse like Ossoff or Newsom if they win. Like, you're insane if you think he's actually going to follow through on that. He's not going to. He knows where his bread is buttered.
Let's
I would put money on that. I would put money on that.
$100.
Let's do it. Lock it in.
So this is if Newsom or do you want to add Kamala Harris? Who do you want to add?
I am so confident in what I'm saying, and I think Kyle is like we just know how he operates. That I'm willing to say whoever the nominee is, he will not he will not endorse.
Wait, no, let's carve out AOC, right?
I'm so confident that AOC is not going to be the nominee in 2028. But I'm showing my confidence.
Okay.
I'm giving you an advantage. I'm showing
you. Hutch, you're a bad gambler. Put caveats in this. What if a fucking generational progressive gets a presidential nominee that very clearly aligns with Kyle? Put caveats. Do not bet like this, people. This is a bad betting strategy. I don't give a fuck. Your confidence means nothing in the world of possibility.
My confidence. Although I wouldn't even necessarily feel all that confident that he would endorse AOC. I don't know.
So if you're so confident, let's raise it. Are you okay raising
money, bro? I'll take Hutch's money.
$500.
You're offering a crack at a crack right now. So obviously, yes, I am on board with increasing the terms of the bet. What do you got?
$500 and a public apology. Either one of us. I'll apologize to you, or you'll apologize to Josiah.
That's tempting.
No collusion, by the way. No collusion. But even if
I'm just thinking. I'm doing the Doctor Strange calculations.
It's crazy. This is crazy.
And to be clear about what I'm betting, what do you think? I'm betting that whoever the Democrat nominee is, he'll endorse.
I think that's very tempting. I think those terms are a little too favorable to you. Because again, like I feel reasonably confident that AOC, like if she were to run and win the nomination, I do think there's like an 80% chance that he would endorse her. There's like a 20% chance that he would accuse her of being like a liberal Zionist who, like tacitly endorses a genocide. So I just, that would be a bit much.
So we can make it more even by the following. We can either exclude certain candidates, or we can make the term so it's $250 for me, $500 for you. Your upside.
No. What we should do is just we should specify that if the candidate is someone that Kyle perceives to be like outside of his tribe or whatever you want to call it, the establishment
let's
whatever. Yeah. If it's Ossoff.
I like everything. I like everything because then it's like someone's gonna eat crow, right?
Now you got me walking back my confidence a little bit because if it's Ossoff, I think the thing that pushes it over the line that he might actually support Ossoff is that I actually think Kyle is like very vapid. And
I also think he might support Ossoff, so that's why this entire thing that Hutch was doing was a little bit performative. Hey man, we all do performative stuff. I do it all the time. I am a performer on different podcasts that I hop on. When we're talking politics, we're all serious. We're locked in. Only analytical brain over here. We're locked in, my boy.
Superficial. And so just the fact that Ossoff has Riz would matter more to him than the fact that they disagree on like every policy. So like that's like a little different.
You think they disagree on every policy?
Probably, yeah. I think probably, yeah. Like, except for maybe, I don't know. I assume Ossoff supports like paid family leave, but Ossoff doesn't support Medicare for All, Green New Deal. You've seen that clip.
Yeah.
Hey, let's restrict it this way. Like, if the candidate is Kamala or Gavin Newsom,
Okay.
I will take that bet. $500 public apology.
Done.
Lock it in. You guys all witnessed it. There you go.
Oh boy. So you're not confident. In other words, based on this bet, you're only confident really with respect to those major candidates. You're not confident Ossoff. You're not confident anyone else. That I think is
not
something.
as confident. Not confident enough to take that bet.
Okay.
Is that the money's not the public apology? That's a tall order. Okay. That is.
To Josiah. I would apologize to you, and I can't bind Josiah, but I just think Josiah is getting so much unnecessary flack when he is just using a term like ally to mean a specific thing. And that's like, you can try to be like, that's the wrong way to use that term, but it's not really interesting. It's kind of like, to be honest,
why don't we unpack that a little bit?
Yeah.
When I think of the word ally,
mm-hmm.
I think of a relationship with a person or an entity that is mutually beneficial.
It's an allegiance, right? It's an ally, someone who you're aligned to, who you have an allegiance to, and they have an allegiance to you.
But the core characteristic is that it is mutually beneficial, right?
I mean, that's something that's found in allyships, but not it's not required, right? Like, for example, think in the First World War, you had the Austrian alliance with the Germans. The Germans certainly thought that there was a certain like a negative, like they were weighing down. The Austrians were weighing down the Germans. But I take your point that could be one of many reasons that you become an ally to someone.
Well, I think it is intrinsic to the definition. I think it is that the right word? Intrinsic meaning.
I saw someone just say "fuck Pisco"
belonging naturally, essentially. Yes. So like when we look up.
Here's my thing. Even though I did not like Pisco's argumentation to defend Kyle, I think it's a bit sweepy. I didn't like it. Pisco is not the enemy. People have a hard time just because they have issues with how people feel about something or whatever. People have a hard time determining who their enemy is. Your enemy is not the person who clearly is advocating for the same candidates, same principles, same times of change, believes in the same things you do, and is also trying to push America in the right direction. They may have a difference of opinion on who the type of people they want to associate with, but Pisco is not the enemy. Hutch is not the enemy. Unless you're like anti-American and pro-communist, I guess Hutch is the enemy. But oh my goodness, people need to relax. Get off the fucking internet. The enemy is the people who hate America. Sometimes these people online all the time, sometimes my perception is that they would associate with someone who hates Hasan Piker more, but still doesn't believe in America. Honestly, they would. Sometimes I have the feeling that these people would associate with people who don't believe in America, who hate America, but just because they are hateful and criticize Hasan Piker or Destiny, then that person's more on your side than someone like a Pisco. And if that is you, where you would associate with, I don't know, for example, Nick Fuentes, if he's just super critical on Hasan Piker, if you put him on the same camp as Pisco, then you're the fucking problem. I'm being honest. You're a problem. You're a problem. Your priorities are mixed up. Still don't fucking like what Pisco's saying here. But there's more enemies than like Pisco and Josiah. I think they're a pretty good ally, to be honest.
The definition of the word ally. I fucking hate that 99% of political debates end up debates about definitions of words, but the noun ally is a state formally cooperating with another for a military or other purpose.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. So
the verb, right? The verb to combine or unite a resource or commodity with another for mutual benefit. Or if we go to Merriam-Webster for a different definition, to unite or form a connection or relation between, usually used with or to. That's the verb. Intransitive verb to form or enter into an alliance, and then the definition of alliance: a bond or connection between family, states, parties, or individuals.
Yeah, just some connection.
An association to further the common interests of the members.
Right. Yeah. These are all ways in which that I think really cleanly map onto how Josiah is using the term. It's kind of a general term. Well,
listen, I think it's obviously when we talk about a political alliance, that would have to be something that is mutually beneficial, because why else would you do that? What would be the purpose, or give me like a plausible scenario where I can ally with someone else and it's not mutually beneficial? Like,
well, it depends on how you're defining or cashing out like mutual benefit. Like, let's say that you ally with someone who's a really negative drain on the cause because you love them.
that's not what we're talking about with politics,
No,
though. I don't, politicians and people with perspectives don't align with people because they love them.
Okay,
and
personal
it's like,
relationship. He likes Hasan. He wants clout. These are other potential explanations. Guys, I'm not actually saying.
But that would be mutually beneficial.
Right. So if you're cashing it out to mean like it's analytically entailed,
that,
guys,
or something that is
really cleanly up onto how Josiah is using the term. It's kind of a general term.
Well, listen, I think it's obviously when we talk about a political alliance, that would have to be something that is mutually beneficial, because why else would you do that? What would be the purpose, or give me like a plausible scenario where I can ally with someone else and it's not mutually beneficial? Like,
well, it depends on how you're defining or cashing out like mutual benefit. Like, let's say that you ally with someone who's a really negative drain on the cause because you love them.
That's not what.
Your ally is someone you love. But I mean, yeah, I just don't think that works. I understand. I've thought about the idea of how far you're willing to like work with people that you care about. Like, how bad does their personal ideology have to be before you break things off? And that's a hard question to determine, especially if you love the individual. So I understand that sentiment, but ally is a very different term than loved ones. It focuses more on a intended goal, right? An intended goal versus loved ones are loved without any attachment or intent. It's just implied, especially with family. But yeah, I think it's an interesting question, but I just don't think it works here.
We're talking about with politics, though. I don't, politicians and people with perspectives don't align with people because they love them.
Okay, and personal relationship. He likes Hasan. He wants clout. These are other potential explanations. I'm not actually saying.
But that would be mutually beneficial.
Right. So if you're cashing it out to mean like it's analytically entailed that there's some mutual benefit there, then I guess you have to ask Josiah what that benefit is. I think he is. I
think you're fighting me on this because you know that if you concede that to be allies with someone in a political context, it has to be mutually beneficial. That you know where I'm going with that, and it's going to throw a wrench in your logic a little bit.
No, that's how you define the term. I just don't think that's how Josiah uses the term.
Then I can't possibly conceive of what Josiah like when he's. Are you saying that Josiah doesn't think that an alliance has to be mutually beneficial in politics?
Yeah, I don't think that he's using the term that way, and I don't think any of the definitions you provide have that entailed. It's one of the purposes, right? That the purpose is for mutual benefit. That doesn't necessarily mean that it actually results in mutual benefit. So I think even on the definitions you provided, it's not entailed that there be a mutual benefit. Just that's one of the definitions you provided. Again, just one. I think had that as a potential purpose.
Now you're going a different way with it. Now you're saying you can form an alliance with someone, but it doesn't always work out in a mutually beneficial way. That's not what I'm saying. When you form an alliance with someone, the purpose is that you're joining forces to some kind of mutual benefit.
If that's what you mean by the term.
Correct. I'm glad Hutch caught on to that one. I'm going to give Hutch applause there. Because Pisco was trying to refer to it may not result. He was talking about the consequence of the relationship itself resulting in a benefit for both people. But Hutch is referring to the intention. Why are we allied? What are we allied to do? That is what he's referring to. The result is inconsequential to the intended purpose of allying in the first place. So I'm glad Hutch caught that. I didn't like that, Pisco.
Term, then yes, if that's the definition of the term.
I think that's what everybody means when they think about
no, not Josiah.
What?
When Josiah says ally, he means something very specific, and he cashes it out. He said all he means by allies with respect.
Huh? I don't know. I feel like okay, maybe Pisco's about to explain.
When Josiah says ally, he means something very specific, and he cashes it out. He said all he means by allies with respect to the goal of destroying Trump or acknowledging Trump.
I mean, okay. This is why I hate speaking for other people. I hate doing that shit. I hate it so much. But they're friends with the guy, so you're still the intended mutual benefit is mutually benefiting from the destruction of Trump, right? So you're still abiding by the parameters of the definition. The question here is not necessarily if the definition is wrong, but are we understanding the intent correctly? That's the question here. The intent of beating Trump. Do we actually both agree there? And if we do say it, are our actions corresponding with the intent to do whatever is necessary to beat Trump? I think this is an easy answer for Hutch. He would say no, because they are destroying the party that has the capacity to defeat Trump, which is the Democratic Party. The best way to beat Trump is for Democrats to win, and they're hurting the credibility of Democrats. Very easy to understand. Let's see if Hutch can drop the nuke and give the perfect answer here.
Was a greater evil. That's all he means by that. You
That's
can be
a
like, that's not the
mutual
correct
benefit.
definition, but like that's just
No, but
okay. Who cares?
That's a mutual benefit, though. Like if you're joining someone because you have a common enemy, that's a mutual benefit.
Yeah, I assume if you were to
I
ask
think
him,
this is kind of,
I assume if you were to ask him, he probably thinks that like all else equal, Hasan, like to the extent that he's dedicating resources towards defeating MAGA, his intuition is that would be more helpful than hurtful. And my guess is he would say that. But again, I don't think that that's entailed in his definition of it. I think he's just using the term the way he says he uses the term.
this feels a little pedantic to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, Pisco. This is the one time where you're actually saying the same thing as Hutch, but I don't know what you're doing here, because, like what Hutch said, the mutual benefit is to beat Trump, so it entails into the purpose of the relationship, the mutual benefit. So yeah, I think Pisco is just wrong here. Personally, I think Pisco is just incorrect.
It's pedantic.
It's just,
So Josiah tells you, right? One thing.
The idea that someone could have a conception of a political alliance that doesn't involve mutual benefit is completely absurd.
Would you say it's absurd?
Doesn't make
You mean the word?
I mean,
you don't
it doesn't
understand it? It's a word, right?
It's nonsensical. It doesn't. Why would you do that? What would be the purpose of an alliance that only goes one way? It doesn't make any sense.
But this alliance doesn't just go one way. It's a mutual benefit to destroy Trump. Words.
He's defining the term. He's using the term in a way that he's explaining. He says, when I say ally, I just mean someone who recognizes the Democrats are the lesser of two evils and better than Republicans in every way, and you don't make a false equivalence between them. He just is telling you what it means. You're like, why would you use that term that way? Like, that's kind of tangential to the discussion. People are asking him what an ally is, and he's why not ask? Like, the thing is, here's why, Hutch, I think all this is happening. People want to have the connotation of ally, and they're trying to sandbag him. So instead of asking the question, do you think Hasan is helpful or hurtful for the Democrats for a particular end, they don't want to ask that question. They just want to run a bunch of examples on the notion of allyship, and then bring in the baggage of connotation. If you were to say something like Nick Flynn is an ally, then where he would be committed to saying, yes, Nick Flynn is an ally if he fulfills the criteria for the given election, he would be committed to that. That's just his notion of ally in that context. But if you were to ask him a broader sense of ally, meaning like you should be friendly with them or they actually have a positive impact, he might give you a different answer. But what I take issue with is kind of like quibbling. He's using the wrong definition. That just seems like bullshit.
That's not the question I would want to ask sweet Josiah, who I know you're listening, Josiah. He hasn't texted us. He hasn't showed up in chat, but I know you're fucking listening to this. You can hop on the call. Like, the question that I would want to ask Josiah, and it's one that I think is especially important now during this cycle, and especially during this news cycle with Hasan. It's a really important question. I don't think enough people are asking the question. And the question is, what value is Hasan Piker bringing to the Democratic Party? And I think that's an especially important question, because if you're mad that party leadership are not defending Hasan from his own rhetoric, by the way, in the form of attacks from the Republican Party, if you're mad that Democratic Party...
Oh my God, Hutch is fucking cooking right now. He's going crazy. He's going crazy. He's so right. It annoys me that all that is what is happening right now is people condemning the words Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker has used. He's the one who said what he said about American Jews. His fault, his problem, his issue. He said it. What happened as a response is Democrat leadership, all of them are just saying, yo, what the fuck? I condemn it. They're just condemning it. That's all they're doing. And what is happening as a result is all these fucking lefty whiny bitches on the internet going like, how dare you condemn something he said? How dare you? How dare you condemn something he said? How dare you? I need to protect Hasan Piker. I need Hasan Piker to notice me. Get the fuck out of here. Come on, bro. The Democrats do so much in attacking Trump and MAGA, but they condemn one thing that Hasan Piker says, and all these fucking lefties starts crying and bitching and moaning. Not even the losers on the left wing space that spend all their day on the internet and social media, but also the political pundits like fucking that one hand leftist dude. He's honestly very cringe right now. Fucking Mehdi Hasan, Cenk Uygur, fucking Kyle. It's like all they did is criticize something he fucking said. But you guys say nothing when Gavin Newsom is going out of his way to work with a bunch of Democratic states to sue Donald Trump for the stuff regarding the mail-in ballot. Mum's the word. You guys don't say anything with the Senate Democrats Twitter account making a 2.5-hour video putting out receipts of Republicans saying bullshit. Mum's the word. You don't say anything with this recent like Democratic politician who's creating a law to put term limits on Supreme Court justices at 75 years old. You don't say anything about that, but hey, man, they criticize Hasan Piker, and honestly, you guys start acting like Diet MAGA. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Anyhow, it's pathetic. Let's see if I can clock this guy political views in 10 seconds. Oh, so he's conservative. Well, bro, I am not conservative. I am not. I just hate Hasan because I have principles. Get a gun, train like hell. They hate you. Get ready for the imminent collapse. Do not be a loot drop. Don't consume propaganda stuff from the mainstream. Stay deadly. Hey, I want you to know this. Trump sucks. MAGA sucks. Do not conflate me with being on the side of MAGA. MAGA sucks. Hasan sucks and MAGA sucks. Both can suck. Honestly, they can suck each other.
Leadership are not supporting and defending him, then I don't think you've asked that question. Like, what possible incentive would Cory Booker and Chuck Schumer and all these other prominent Democrats, John Ossoff, what possible incentive would they have to risk and stake their own reputation fighting a difficult...
You know what? Then I respect you right here. I voted for Trump. Trump does suck. He lied to us. Respect. Respect. At least some people are learning. Are you Muslim? No, I'm not Muslim. Do you think this is a do-rag? I'm not Muslim. I'm agnostic. I'm not religious. But that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Fight, because Hasan just makes it so easy for Republicans to weaponize his own rhetoric. That's a risk. That's a thing.
Are you asking why should they or why would they?
Yeah, there would have to be some value.
No, what are you asking? Why would they or why should they?
I'm saying there would have to be some value to the Democratic Party in order to do that, because otherwise you're just risking your own reputation. So the question is, what is that value? Like, what actual value does Hasan bring to the party?
You're asking me, or from the point of view of...
Well, I'm asking you generally. If you want to try to like answer that question, go for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That would be my criteria to determine if someone was an ally.
Is whether they're valuable. That's going to be,
yes.
That's going to be a problem for you, Hutch, because you're going to be committed to some weird shit on certain Democrats who are unpopular. And so your notion of value is going to be like, it's going to be tested. If that's your definition of allies, whether someone brings value to you.
Yeah, test me then.
If they bring value, and they have to demonstrate that, or that has to be their purpose. Which?
Yeah, of course there would have to be demonstrated value. Yes.
Okay. And so I'll just...
I'm in favor of cutting any Democrat. I'm in favor of cutting any Democrat.
So Biden, for example, in the context of 2024, not an ally.
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Doesn't seem to be the notion that you accept on your own view.
I think in the case of Biden, ally doesn't quite, like, he was the president and like the nominee. And so I don't know if that would apply in the same way. Like, we're trying to determine whether or not you want to enter into some kind of like joint agreement to defend each other or something like that. Like, the calculation.
I'm just using the notion you provided. Right?
I'm
just using the notion that you provided, right? Like, on your own notion of value.
I mean, you're pointing out an interesting flaw in my logic, and maybe I'm not smart enough to navigate that little wrench.
You're smart.
You know,
I think the people, and guys, let's chill in the chat. Seriously.
Fuck you, chat. Fuck them. Let them get animated. Fuck you guys.
Go for it.
Well, I just, let's not stray from the question, because it's a really important question, right? I mean, you would agree, right, with the idea that if you're expecting or wanting the party, like the leaders of the party.
Different things. Expecting and
to
wanting.
defend or wanting, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like in either case, if you either expect support and defense from the Democratic Party or you want support from the Democratic Party, you would agree, right? Obviously, you would need to, like, if you're in Hasan's spot, have demonstrated some value to justify the risk to their reputations.
So I'll answer both the expectation and then the kind of desire / normative aspect. I would agree that if you want to expect people like Cory Booker et al. To defend you, it's kind of like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. No one should expect these people to defend Hasan Piker. That's the expectation from. In terms of like whether it's a good thing for them to defend, I actually think that like whether you've demonstrated value in the past, maybe that factors some in terms of the future, but I think that they're also looking at like future value / detriment, right? Like even if it's the case that he's shown value, and I'm gonna be
honest, I wasn't listening to the past couple things. Jesus loves Muslims, repent from the sins of Islam, proclaim Jesus Christ is King, very base. I wanted border security. I wanted my free speech kept. I understand border security. I'm willing to work with the right wing in that conversation. But I understand the sentiment. I wanted my free speech kept. Yeah, it's definitely being quite attacked right now. I wanted my gun rights protected. Okay. I wanted no new wars. Definitely didn't happen. The other side keeps its promises. We need to burn this to the ground. America first. I am not burning America to the ground. I'm getting off that. The Constitution maintained even after our last civil war. We will uphold it still. We need to pull these pedophilic elite out of the throne. We are being used. I can co-sign that. Some things you're saying, I'm like, no. Some things require nuance. And some things I agree. Hey, for sure. If you're a pedophile, go to jail.
Be honest with you, right? I have an intuition about Hasan being a negative on a candidate in a general, but overall on the electorate, my intuition flips. And my intuition is just having like a handsome person activate people politically who are generally on the left. My intuition, again, without data, and we should get the data, someone should commission the data, is that all else equal, that will probably just activate more people and they'll vote for the more left-wing candidate. I can't prove that.
We do have data.
That's just my vibe. On what?
We do have data. We do have national polling from like 3 or 4.
That's on his popularity. That's different. That's on his popularity. That's different than his effect on voters. That's different than his effect on voters and their decisions. Different things.
Well, I think we could draw a reasonable inference or deduction from negative polling.
No, that's some kind of empirical shit that someone needs to do. That's some kind of like thing that someone needs to think about. I'm not willing to just jump. Again, maybe it's true that he's a drag.
Listen, I'll concede that point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like I have an intuition that he's going to be a drag on a particular race in which he's heavily involved in the general, right? But my intuition flips on the net effect on voters, and these are just vibes that I'm telling you. But even if that were all the case, right? Like I almost think that what you do in the future should be dependent on like your intuitions about the effect he's going to have in the future. And on that, yeah, like why defend Hasan if it doesn't provide a benefit? I'm with you there. That's the same thing that you say, by the way, on Biden, right? You say, listen, if you want to throw Biden under the bus, if it's helpful, you've been the first to say, or Kamala, right? I think with Peltola in Alaska, you've said, like, I don't have a problem with her throwing Kamala under the bus or not accepting her endorsement or whatever.
Or Rob Sand in Iowa is another really good example. He's out here saying, like, he's shitting on the party, and I'm rooting for it because in Iowa. So,
for me, like, consequences are going to be a big factor in, like, should we help Hasan on something? And I'm not convinced that, like, full-throated defense of Hasan right now is in the best interest of the party. I mean, I know you're not convinced of that. And I'm sure that, like, past experience plays into that, but that's just kind of how I view the situation.
I mean, I think that's putting it mildly, though, when you say you're not convinced of whatever sentence you just said, because like it sounded like earlier you agreed with me that the Republicans are using Hasan to force essentially like a no-win situation, like in Michigan. And
if you're asking me what I would do, I wouldn't defend Hasan if I were a Democratic nominee. If you're asking me what I would do or what I would suggest.
Okay. All right. Well,
I've never done that. I've never said that. Yeah.
Well, listen, I think you came to that conclusion because he doesn't bring any value to the party or net.
They all have worn the tiny hat and kissed the wall. I'm not doing the Jewish conspiracy stuff. We need someone who isn't 80 and compromise. I agree. We need less people who are 80. We have more in common than they are making us believe on both sides. I actually agree there as well. I actually agree there as well.
Value. You could bring some value and have the negative stuff outweigh.
Yeah, you could just go through it and be like, okay, yeah, fuck what he said, fuck him, whatever, and that decision benefits you as a candidate probably. But also, I don't have a problem also if someone makes a decision strategically that I don't agree with that statement, but I want to focus on MAGA. I think you have a big issue with that statement. Would you?
No, I don't think. Well, listen, it's not about me.
We're good.
Like, well, it's
I'm
not.
asking
it's
you.
not
I'm having a
me.
conversation with you, and I care about you.
No. But that's the wrong question because Abdul Al-Sayed, he's not worried about getting my endorsement. He's got to get the endorsement of the various groups in Michigan politics that whose support he needs. And so if he's got different advocacy groups or state representatives, state senators, or like prominent Democrats in that state that are saying like, look, I want to endorse you, but I do not feel comfortable with your association with Hasan Piker. He's got to think about them. And so
okay, so there's to
that end, he probably should do a more forceful condemnation. So I think I take that back immediately. No, I don't think it's enough to.
So let's talk about Ossoff then. Let's talk Ossoff. Ossoff says, listen, guys, I don't give a shit about Hasan. All right, I'm focusing on the issues in my state, in Georgia, and that's Collins. Would you take an issue with that statement?
No, I would not. No.
Yeah, I think a lot of
But-
people
but-
in your audience would take an issue with that statement.
Uh,
One, if I'm right about that, chat. Two, if I'm wrong.
I guess like I want to see prominent Democrats like draw these lines, but it doesn't have to be everyone. You know what I mean? So if everyone took the view that, or took the same approach,
I'm gonna be honest, that doesn't really make sense to me. If you want them to condemn something Hasan says, then just it doesn't matter where you are. I think you should just condemn it. I don't understand. I don't understand this statement because we're speaking on what he wants, and if we're speaking on what he wants, this should be a universal principle. If we're speaking on the political calculation he's trying to make, then that political calculation should also apply to El Sayed. I don't know. I feel like the calculation is a bit off, personally. Americans don't realize that both support oligarchs and military-industrial complex. All presidents support bombing other country. Based. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. But I feel like if you're bad, I can call you out. I think the entire Republican Party is pathetic. And I think there are certain members of the Democratic Party that should lose, but not the entirety of the Democratic Party. So I don't agree there.
approach as this hypothetical Ossoff, but just avoiding the confrontation or avoiding the question, then I think that would be bad for the party, because I do think there needs to be a public, like right now the Republican Party, they want normies to think that Hasan Piker is in the driver's seat of the Democratic Party. Do you agree with that?
The Republicans.
Name one president who doesn't bomb people. That's a simplistic question because there's always conflict. All right. If we had universal peace, that would be amazing. We did have peace, to be honest, kind of. No, we didn't. I'm gonna be honest. Trump was doing a bunch of drum strikes even before the Iran war. Yeah, every single leader, for the most part, bombs because enemies exist. So yeah, when enemies exist, when terrorists exist, then you're gonna have to bomb. It's just like saying, name a cop that hasn't arrested a criminal, or name a cop in a situation engaged with a criminal that they haven't fucking physically pushed them down or even shot a gun. It's a nonsensical claim that actually is a little bit too simplistic on how the world works. Now, if we're talking about whether certain bombings are justified, that's a more astute claim to make. Talking about the justifications of bombings in given scenarios. Like, for example, the Iran war. The bombings for the Iran war is unjustified because there's no reason why we're in this war in the first place. But, bombings to take out, I don't know, Al-Qaeda seems a bit more justified. So it depends. Context. I know it's hard, but it does depend. Find the bad Xi Jinping doesn't drop bombs ironically in this 20-year-old. Don't the Chinese have a concentration camp of the Uyghurs in China? Don't play this game. Don't play stupid games with me, bro. Don't play stupid games. If you're pro-China, go ahead, knock yourself out. But that shit's not going to work here. Find a way to root in your community, make a tight social web. They're attempting to divide us and keep us easily controlled in our homes. That's why I created this podcast, to tell people to get more involved in their community, to stand for something, call out evil, call out bad. I think the entirety of the Republican Party is bad, but if there's bad in the Democratic Party, like Graham Plattner, like Eric Swalwell, like Eric Adams, like I don't know how bad Cuomo is because a lot of it is allegations, but if the allegations of Cuomo is real, Cuomo, and then stand up, advocate, create better communities. I'm there with you in there. Only America and Russia constantly bomb. This man is from China. Stop with your Chinese propaganda. Stop with the Chinese propaganda. It's not going to work here, brother. Wasn't left and right getting together and fighting things we agree on. You're down Flock. Yeah, Flock is fucked. Data centers. A lot of people really don't like data centers. 100%. It seems like at least some Democrats are moving in the right direction in data centers. I do my biggest critique regarding Democrats and data centers is that some Democrats, it depends on what Democrat we're talking about. They want to push it, and I do think data centers are necessary, but sometimes they don't include the community's input, and that's problematic. You have to be involved with your community to put data centers in there. I think that's very lazy. Flock, I have a lot of issues with Flock as well. A lot of lack of transparency there. Storm political buildings and demand the files be released. Yeah, at this point, the files should be released regardless of Democrat Republicans. So when Democrats take the Congress and win presidency, they got to release the entire files. I don't care who it hurts. I don't care if it hurts Bill Clinton. I don't care if it hurts ex-Democrat here. Release all of it. And then storming political buildings. Yeah, Jan 6 was disgusting. But I also recommend, I tell people all the time, do not do the crazy shit. Even if you're supporting a good cause, maybe BLM questionable, but the rioting, looting, bad. And then, of course, some of the ICE protests were going too far. The majority of it has been peaceful, but I always tell people, stop with the violence, stop with attacking, and stop all that shit. Of course, that's stupid. It truly doesn't seem their own. I criticize America all the time. I'm just not trying to push Chinese and Russian propaganda. Fuck no. Hell no. That ain't gonna work here, brother. That ain't gonna work here. You ain't gonna push Chinese and Russian propaganda here. We ain't doing that. Not at all. Just because I criticize America doesn't mean that I'm pushing China. That's not happening.
I want the normies to think Hasan is some figure of esteem and repute within the party structure. Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it stands to reason that we do need Democrats that are very publicly signaling to normies that this is not the case. And the only way that you can actually do that convincingly is a pretty forceful condemnation. I mean, it can't be mealy mouthed. It can't be like, oh, you're muting. You're muted. I can't hear you. What the fuck happened? Your mic is... Boomer, technical issues.
Yeah, Pisco is just failing.
Why do people...
You all support bombing everywhere. I don't support bombing anywhere. Hope it dissolves soon. Yeah, I'm good. I prefer no bombing, and I prefer end of wars. I'm not a fan personally. Not a fan. So yeah.
Carafe. It's a plastic carafe. I believe you would call this a half. The harm in this situation would be any kind of perception from median voters that the party is essentially being led by Hasan Piker. And so in order to mitigate that harm, address that harm, it does need to have some kind of weight. Like it can't just be like a throwaway. Like I think Abdul's message that he put out the other day.
Chuck Schumer can do no wrong. Like, it kind of reminds me of the Chuck Schumer can do no wrong stuff where it's like, well, if politicians are doing it, that's evidence that they have to do it or something. But I was like, why? Why do you have this strong belief?
Wait, I thought I was walking you through it. Would you? Oh, well, I guess we have to establish a few things. Like, do you agree that it would benefit Republicans if more normie voters than not held the view that Hasan is essentially like in the driver's seat of the party or holds a lot of... Okay, all right. So that's kind of a big deal, right? Like the public perception of the party.
Yeah, I just don't know why among
normie voters.
I just don't know why.
No, but I was going to get there. I was going to get there. Like the ideal statement, I think, in a lot of cases, and I guess it just depends on the electorate too, because maybe.
So, yeah, I already answered the every single American president bomb things. Contextual, of course. The propaganda was you trying to make it seem like China is, these peacekeepers. That's just bullshit in every sense of the word. A concentration camp for an ethnic group is very bad. I don't know how you're saying it doesn't hold a candle. That's bullshit. And I don't actually have no idea what you're referring to in Hawaii right now. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Please let me know. Actually, drop a source and I'll look it up. I would be enlightened to be educated.
If you're in you're a representative in an R+20 state and you're in like a D+5 district, maybe you need to be more forceful. But the ideal kind of like deflection or the addressing of the perception would involve a kind of deflection. So you say a strong statement, and then you find a way to end it with something like, but my Republican colleagues only want to have a conversation about Hasan Piker because they don't want to talk about the cost of gas and live. It would be something like that. It would be some kind of redirect as well.
Yeah, but like the thing is,
We're occupying Hawaii. Hawaii's a state. How the fuck are we occupying Hawaii? And I don't even know how you're saying we. I was born in Hawaii. I'm from Hawaii. Saying that I'm occupying the state that I'm from, that's crazy. Occupying Hawaii is crazy work. Hawaii is a kingdom. I mean, okay, all right. You don't know your history. You just said the United States is occupying a state. That's stupid. I know what Hawaii was before. I know what the colonialists did. Of course I know. But history has happened. A deal was made. Hawaii became a state. That's what happened. It's not occupied. It's a state of America. Oh my God, bro. This guy is he's so brain dead. He's so brain dead. You like CCP. Taiwan is legitimately their own country. Taiwan is their own country. There's no way you're comparing Taiwan to Hawaii. Oh my God, he's comparing Taiwan to Hawaii. Yeah, he's a Chinese propagandist. There's just some conversations that's so nonsensical that I just don't have time. To engage with that nonsense. Hawaii is a lovely vacation spot. And I agree, America is the best country in the world for the most part. We're struggling right now for the past 2 years.
So with respect to the ideal response, I almost feel like a deflection. This guy doesn't matter, whatever. He's a Twitch streamer. Like, versus it is so profoundly unserious that he has any platform. Like, it almost seems like putting too much of an emphasis on it. Some people could get the intuition that it implies like a stronger tie than actually exists or something. I don't know that that's the case. I don't know this, right? Like, is a deflection better versus an outward condemnation in terms, and again, not in terms of like the underlying moral issue, just in terms of the effect on the electorate. That's all I'm saying. I don't know one has a stronger or less strong connection. It feels like having a strong condemnation almost puts it in the news more. So I don't know, but like that's just the vibe.
Well, here's where I think the problem is with.
If Taiwan was a state, I don't know what China would call it, states, provinces, I don't know. If Taiwan was a state of China and they've been a state of China for 100 years, then yes, I would say the same thing. They are not. They're their own country with their own sovereignty, with their own constitution, with their own laws. So yes, it's not the same. It's not the same at all.
That on this particular issue.
I'm
assuming
from
Abdul
Hawaii.
and
Why
his
is
campaign
this guy
did not put out that statement to proactively.
This guy thinks that I'm a mainlander. He has no idea what he's talking about. He brought the worst example to talk about. I'm from Hawaii, and this guy's going like, "You're a part of that, bro." I'm from the place you're talking about. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh my goodness.
Address things. I assume his office got inundated with calls from people that he's trying to court right now. Like, he is right now in the state of Michigan trying to build a political coalition, which hopefully involves like a broad ideological spectrum. Like, that would be, if you're running for a seat like that, you got to bring in you got to try to addition, no subtraction kind of a situation there.
This guy's racially profiling me. He said, "You're not Hawaiian, you're Black American. You're probably an African monkey." Is that what you're saying right now? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying right now? Call me a monkey. Do it. Call me a monkey. Call me a monkey right now. I can't be Hawaiian. You have no idea what my family is, but I think this is hilarious. He's trying to infer who my family are. I'm for abortion, tapering off on fossil fuels completely, marijuana, free healthcare, keeping religion out of schools and government, keeping public lands free, and need to know the truth. These are just reasonable takes, man. These are reasonable takes. These are very reasonable takes.
And the problem with Hasan's clip that's going viral is that regardless of his intent, and I'm not necessarily being charitable with his intent,
Yeah,
it reads like a threat.
Yeah,
I
I think it reads that way. Yeah.
to normal people, they hear that and they think, nice Judaism you got there. Sure would be a shame if something happened to it. Now, I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but
no, I agree that that's how it reads too.
Right. So if Abdul is getting inundated with calls from like Jewish advocacy groups, and there's reporting on this, we now know that state representative Moss, the one who Hasan had his tweet on the screen when he was doing that whole fucking rant, they were negotiating an endorsement. And so I assume if Abdul is going to that guy for an endorsement, obviously Abdul sees value there.
Yeah, I think it was right for him to come out. I think we agree on that.
Now the reporting is that endorsement is imperiled. And so Hasan Piker literally possibly fucked up a really important endorsement in the state. And so for something like that, the reason why it can't be mealy-mouthed is the people that are expressing their concern and outrage about that Hasan clip, they're not going to be appeased by something that's like half in, half out.
Yeah, so if you could demonstrate me some like very important endorsements and very important benefit from some insider, I thought we were just like focusing on the effect on the independent with respect to the statement itself, not with respect to endorsements or other kinds of things. Yeah, obviously, if that strong statement is needed to get some other constituency that's more sensitive to the disavow being forceful, then yeah, I would totally understand that. Yeah, but I just wasn't aware that that's what you were talking about. Do you have a problem with us?
But I feel like you can't disentangle the two. Like
I just didn't know what you were referring to. I was understanding you to be asking about like independent voters and like the
I mean,
that's what I thought you were asking about, Hutch. Yeah. So if you bring up, oh, it's not just them, it's also key stakeholders, then yeah, I could understand that. But I just didn't know that you were referring to that with your question.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, they're pretty much looping. I'm about to end this conversation. They're pretty much looping at this point. And then I also got to do a podcast episode in about 15 minutes. So I'm about to end this stream and then go live in like 15 minutes again to talk with a political communications director, the communications director for Todd Kelly's, an independent running for Senate in Idaho. But also, also for gun rights, I think all Americans should have them. I'm for gun rights. I believe in regulation. I do believe in gun regulation. I do believe in protecting people from themselves personally. I'm for tightening immigration, deporting illegals. I'm for, if we want to tighten immigration, I think there is a worthwhile conversation in tightening the type of people coming in. I'm willing to engage with that conversation. But I also would be more willing to streamline the process so people who are allowed to come in can get their citizenship quicker because the process is so backed up. Deport illegals, that's a little bit contextual. Deport all criminals, 100%. I will deport criminals for sure. When it comes to kids and their parents, a little bit contextual. And then when it comes to people who've been here for like 20 years, a little bit more contextual. But generally, I don't mind the sentiment. Banning Sharia law, I think that's fine. I never want Sharia law in America. I think that shit's stupid. Abolishing income tax. Ooh. We might disagree there. We disagree there. Keeping politicians out of PACs. I think PACs are fine. I think super PACs are problematic. Super PACs are very problematic. And most extreme take, bring back the Coliseum and feed our homeless too. Oh, whoa. Whoa. Yeah, that is a pretty extreme take. I'm not going to lie. That is a crazy take you just said. Hey. That is a wild take to make. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'm not going to advocate for that, but I respect you being honest. That's crazy. And then Choco, you said, I'm surprised you haven't called me a monkey yet because apparently I'm not Hawaiian. I wonder what you would think if you saw my cousins. I wonder if my cousins think I'm not Hawaiian. They are stupid and Trump represents American values. Yo, okay, we're ending it there. That was the stupidest thing said today. For sure. Be safe, arm yourself, and train. I definitely got to get armed. And obviously, I took a little bit. I've been a little inconsistent in the gym, so I got to get right back into what we got going on. But I'm going to take a little break. Got to go live in like 13 minutes. Appreciate everybody who tapped in. If you're rewatching this, appreciate you too. Like the stream if you're rewatching it. Subscribe to the channel. Overall, my opinions regarding this. Hutch is being a little bit too hard on El Sayed. Pisco is a little too sweepy for Kyle. Those are my takes. But all right.
I'll see people in about 10 minutes.
It's true. Republicans have tried to turn liberal into a bad word. Well, liberals ended slavery in this country.
A Republican president ended slavery.
Yes, a liberal Republican. What happened to them? They got run out of your party. Well, what did liberals do that was so offensive to the Republican Party, Senator? I'll tell you what they did. Liberals got women the right to vote. Liberals got African Americans the right to vote. Liberals created Social Security and lifted millions of elderly people out of poverty. Liberals ended segregation. Liberals passed the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. Liberals created Medicare. Liberals passed the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act. What did conservatives do? They opposed every one of those programs, every one. So when you try to hurl that word liberal at my feet as if it were something dirty, something to run away from, something that I should be ashamed of, it won't work, Senator, because I will pick up that label and I will wear it as a badge of honor.